Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity you give us in the free America to come together to conduct government business, to express our freedom of speech and our liberties. It is truly a privilege. I pray, speak a blessing over this commission, that your Holy Spirit will lead and guide and direct their decision making, and bless the citizens of Lynn Haven. We speak this in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Public commentary, Rich Walker.
Good evening, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Make it quick. Negative, no. Positive, yes. We've had a rough year. We're going to start a new one. I hope everyone had a good Christmas, and I wish you all a happy new year, especially this city. It's going to need it. What we got coming up, we're looking forward to a lot of decisions. I hope you, ladies and gentlemen, make it a better year than the one we had. Thank you very much.
Corey Langford.
Good evening. I just want to take a brief minute to talk about the flock camera discussion that's ongoing within the city of Lynn Haven. I think you all know where I stand. There were some individuals who requested, I guess maybe as a public experiment, for individuals, specifically elected officials, to request their own flock data for the last 30 days. So today, although I'm not an elected official, I made that request of my own data. And the next commission meeting, that'll be available for whomever wants to see that. I'll share it on social media as well. But as I started thinking about this and the deflocking nature of what the request is of remove these cameras, I kind of thought, well, that would kind of make our law enforcement go back to maybe they're policing in 1990 again. We're going to remove that technology from them to where they wouldn't have that edge anymore. So, if we're expecting our police officers to police like we're in 1990, maybe we should have our own experiment and let's live our personal lives like it's 1990. So my request is that for those who want the flock cameras to be removed in the city of Lynn Haven, what I would like for you to do is for 30 days, and we could negotiate, maybe go 2 weeks, to unplug your Wi-Fi router from your home. I would also like for you to set your phone on your living room nightstand and only answer it if it rings. So it'll basically serve as like a landline telephone. And we'll kind of go that direction. For those who are a little bit younger than I am, we used to use rabbit ears to get channels on the TV. And they became especially effective when you added tin foil to the top of them. So I've got more tips and tricks like that for anyone who's interested. But that's what I would encourage the residents of Lynn Haven who want to deflock and remove this technology from the city and from our law enforcement officers. If we expect our law enforcement officers to police like it's 1990, then let's live our lives like it's 1990 for about 2 to 4 weeks, and let's revisit the situation. Thank you.
Christy McElroy.
Gentlemen, Christy McElroy, Port St. Joe. I gave to you guys an article as well as The last time that I spoke, I talked about the evidence that was found in the sofa of Mr. McAlinden's foreclosed home. I sent y'all this photo, but it clearly says these are bullet casings. It has a number on it. It has the officer of Nanette Goodwin. She didn't even know that these were being held. So it's all right here, and you all have it. Don't try to act like Mr. McAlinden didn't have this in his sofa, because he did. And as the custodian of records or whatever in the heck name y'all gave him to make this all look okay, this isn't okay. The other thing I want to mention is this article. It shows the history about Michael White, his whole situation, how he resigned his post after a week, and that the letter of resignation was written by none other than the disbarred felon, Adam Albritton, who was y'all's city attorney. So I think there are a lot of details in this as it pertains to Miss Gaynor, how she got the job. But when you start saying that Mr. White got treated differently, he decided to resign. So yeah, he resigned. But you also have to look at who the attorney was during that time. Someone who was very caught up in all the corruption that was going on in Lynn Haven. So I'm sorry that the city of Lynn Haven is now having to deal with what's going on with Miss Gaynor. I'm sorry that two of the commissioners are having to deal with what's going on with Miss Gaynor. And I hope that the city attorney will find this article to be enlightening and helpful to the city of Lynn Haven, and most importantly, to the tax-paying citizens.
David Kermody.
Evening. David Cromartie, 1315 Wisconsin Avenue. It has been brought to my attention that our current mayor could lose his seat to a qualified, quote-unquote, stranger with no standing except that he is a military retiree who has expressed much adoration for two of our commissioners, whom are military retirees as well. Mr. Nelson sits in his seat, his two-term seat as mayor, and to my belief and knowledge, he is neither corrupt nor a criminal. Yet, he is being challenged, unlike any mayor in the history of Lynn Haven. But my greater concern is this: my beloved mayor, for whom I casted my vote, could be replaced by someone who has never garnered a single vote or held a single public seat in this city. I cannot believe this is our current and legitimate process of unseating those who we don't like. If so, then let the merry-go-round start, for history will record that we lost our way because the wealthy and the grudgeful-hearted among us sold out. In summary, what is happening is that Lynn Haven has allowed a process to begin, which is crushing our destiny to become a model and attractive city. The 15 percenters, as I call them, can only see people with money, wealth, and a greedy spirit, never purity of heart. I wish everyone a happy and more enlightened new year.
Naylor Bearclaw.
Good evening, folks. My name is Naylor Bearclaw. I'm here this evening. I used to live in Lynn Haven. I've lived around all places in Bay County. I currently live out of the county, but I've worked down around here. Depends on where the job sends me. Depends on where I'm working at in the Panhandle. But I'm here today because several different things. You got a new police chief coming in. I hope that he understands our First Amendment rights. And I hope he completely upholds the Constitution if you decide to go ahead and hire him, because I'm a big person on that. I served in the United States Navy, so my family's also been in the military. And the reason why I walk around with a camera and I have my press pass and all that is I blame that on my mama. She sat me on the steps of Congress fighting the big three auto industry to against lemon laws because she got sold a crappy car. She went against Ioka of Chrysler, of all people, and beat him. So if anybody remembers that little bit of history back in the 80s and the 90s. So I'm here today to talk about the flock cameras. Several cities across the nation that have had contracts with flock are canceling their contracts. We also now know, and it's been out there, that the flock cameras are also connected with Ring cameras, and Ring cameras are also being connected with Amazon. So therefore, in a real nutshell, you lose your internet, you have a system with Amazon, it'll connect to your Ring cameras, to your neighbor's house, so you can still connect to that. And therefore, that's being connected to the flock camera systems. Flock was just recently in the news, and one of the groups is 404 Media. They cover the fact that they have a camera right at a city park. These guys accessed the cameras, and they were able to hit the delete button on the footage. And they had access, they hacked over 80,000 cameras. That's what the story says. And it's all over YouTube. Since then, Flock said they have corrected the issue. Well, I don't know how much they can correct. You know, Flock doesn't just get your license plate. It doesn't just identify your vehicle. They now have AI for facial recognition and a bunch of other things. And that's also being released in the Ring cameras, is their facial recognition software. So Flock's going to be able to have that. And since Bayrock has got access to go and, hey, please give us access to your Ring cameras. Well, now that Ring and Flock are together, you may not know it, but your Ring cameras are going to go ahead and do that for you. They're going to hook up the Flock. So everybody be mindful of the Fourth Amendment. Be mindful of what you're asking for. We may want to go back to the 90s, but truly, policing may not be that way. And I know I was affected by a Flock camera because we got pulled over. I wasn't in town, but you pulled over my old lady, said I had a warrant, and I know it was a pocket warrant. And I went to go turn myself in the jail, and they said nobody had entered, and how did you know about the warrant? So I know that because of a Flock camera system shortly after y'all initiated it. So be mindful of what you wish for, because public records requests have been ruled that they're able to be done by a court in Washington. Thank you very much.
David Switzer.
Evening, Commissioners. David Switzer, 323 Alexander Drive. I hope Flock makes $1 billion every year doing what they do with private companies, not with the government. That is my problem. This is not trying to set the police back to 1990. This is 1984 with government surveillance without a consent, without probable cause, without reasonable suspicion, and without a warrant. That's enough for me to say, get rid of this. There are many cities right now deflocking because of this and many other reasons. What reasons would those be? Broad surveillance of protests, targeting specific groups or communities, targeting reproductive and health-related situations and immigration causes, lack of transparency and oversight. As the gentleman said before, there are flock cameras just within 2 weeks that were accessed, no passwords, nothing. You could just go in there and watch kids playing at the park if you want to. Creepy. The way that flock was rolled out in Lynn Haven was wrong. In 2020, we got that one that's over by the bridge, that's portable. In 2021, in a CRA meeting, it was passed. There was zero discussion about what flock is. What flock is it takes pictures every time anybody passes that camera in their car. And they say, oh, well, we only hold it for 30 days. I don't care. Every single day I pass a camera, it takes a picture of me everywhere I go. And that's wrong. That is not the way a free and open society functions. The gentleman talked about Bayrock. Bayrock is even worse. If Flock is Big Brother, Bayrock is Big Brother's older brother. I want you to understand that when Bayrock came out in 2021, it was a project and with zero fanfare. And I'll read to you what is in there. It says that it gave an authorization for multiple crime analysis software, traffic cameras throughout the county, video feeds from schools, drones, license plate readers is the most minimal one, unmanned aerial vehicles, helicopters, and robots. That's what this is. Please get rid of these cameras. There's been zero audits on this since it came out in 2021, and who knows what came out? Who knows what the police were looking at? We don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Parker.
Good evening, Commission. Jerry Parker, Rep Place. I want to state, too, that I have some concerns about this quick scheduled meeting without a vote from the Commission. I want to discuss about the police chief thing. I did some investigation about Blanchard, which shows some concern. He's currently allegedly under investigation, by the way. In March of 2024, the Burke County Sheriff Office ongoing investigation of like $53,000 something dollars. Money was never in the safe during the Sheriff Alfonso Williams' first 4 years in office. He also later on met with Williams at his Belize resort, which is firmly owned by Blanchard. Why are people meeting in a foreign country? That's really weird. So if there's a $53,000 something dollars missing, that still has not been clarified. Is this like the 30,000 backpack debacle for Lynn Haven? The other thing I want to talk about is when I texted with Chris Lightfoot, I asked about the December 30th meeting. He clarified it was a regular meeting. Didn't want to wait until January and have 45 agenda items. Yet, this is a special meeting, which he finally put on the agenda. And now it only has 2. So he said he didn't want to have 45 in January. Now he only has 2 here. So is there going to be 43 in January? How many on the January meeting states? I don't have a number right offhand, but will be a good side agenda. So 45 agenda items were on the burden if this meeting went on December 30th. This is a concern, guys. This is a concern that this special meeting was done. And it looks like we're going to be voting on a police chief. A police chief that currently is allegedly under investigation. This is a problem. I encourage you to table this situation until after the recall election. Thank you.
Laura Leslie.
I'd like to voice some concerns I have with the flock cameras. Continue my comments. Our private data is neither safe with the police departments nor with flock, and there are multiple instances of our data being abused by police officers and chiefs. Some examples, a Sedgwick, Kansas police chief used the flock LPRs to track his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend's vehicles 228 times in 4+ months. A police chief in Braselton, Georgia, was arrested on charges that he used the city's flock cameras to stalk and harass private citizens. Not to mention all the people who have not been caught doing this exact thing. The data has also been used to wrongfully accuse innocent citizens. In Denver, a woman was wrongfully accused of theft and issued a summons after police used flock cameras and Ring doorbell cameras to access her location. She later proved her innocence by providing her own camera footage, but not after being accused by the police on her doorstep. And he said to her, "You know we have cameras in that town. You can't get a breath of fresh air in or out of that place without us knowing." Now, Flock also has access to customer data and shares it with whoever they deem necessary. In Section 4.2 of the city's contract with Flock, it states, quote, "Customer grants Flock a non-exclusive, irrevocable, worldwide, royalty-free license to use the customer-generated data for the purpose of providing Flock services. Flock does not own and shall not sell customer-generated data." End quote. Meaning the people at Flock have access to our data and can do with it whatever they please and justify it by saying it's for Flock services. And we know this because it was found in a recent leak that workers in the Philippines were using customer data. Workers were hired by Flock through Upwork, and they were reviewing and categorizing images from the United States in order to train its machine learning algorithms. My point is that we have no idea who has access to our data and no control over who it's shared with. If our private information can't even be trusted with police chiefs, why are we trusting a private for-profit company? And lastly, I would like to remind you that warrantless searches fly in the face of a key American principle, and that is separation of powers. By advocating for warrantless dragnet surveillance, power is consolidated into the executive branch while excluding the judicial branch. No checks and balances. Any support for Flock surveillance should result in cognitive dissonance, because you have to justify the infringement of the rights of the many to protect the few. Thank you.
Carrie McComb. Maybe Kenny. All right. Any additional public commentary? Yes.
I have a question about something on the consent agenda, number 11. What is the additional work for the change order? I just would like some explanation on that, please.
All right. Additional public commentary? All right. Are there any additions, deletions, modifications of agenda?
Yes, I'd like to add an item. I know this is something Commissioner Tinder had brought up before about state audit. Have some discussion about that after I got some communication with Jay Trumbull.
All right. Make a motion for it.
Make a motion to add agenda item, discuss possibly requesting a state audit.
Second.
All right. Comments from the public? All right. You'll call the vote.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes. Motion passed. We will add that to agenda for item number 15. All right, any other deletions, modifications for agenda? All right, moving on to the mayor's and commissioners' reports. Hopefully a good holiday for everyone. It's been a while since we've come together. Had our first commission meeting earlier this month. And during that time, of course, we've had some interviews with the various chief candidates. So thank you to staff, Mr. Lightfoot and others for setting those up so that we could get acquainted with the final candidates and then get an opportunity to meet the candidate that's coming before us tonight as well. Also had a chance to speak with various citizens about concerns in our community. There's one I need to follow up with you on, Chris, in regards to I think we did some work in the yard previously and for some sewage issues, and seemingly maybe we didn't put the dirt back or there's like a hole or something in the yard. This one's on Alabama, 1603 Alabama. And so they called about that and then wanted to also, and I can send the pictures to you as well for this one. And it's just a reoccurring one over on 18th Street. I guess the asphalt we put in is come back out. So it's like that pothole, like right there in the middle of the road. So. Okay, I'm sure they would love to hear that. Yeah, because I was walking down that road maybe the day before yesterday and just saw where we had a couple more spots there where obviously we had patched it, but it, for whatever reason, it's come back out in a couple of places. So I'm sure they'll be glad to hear that. So also had a chance to meet earlier before our meeting tonight with a couple of our citizens to discuss deflocking Lynn Haven. And so gave a lot of good insight and some things for us to consider. And of course, we heard some of those things the last meeting as well, things that maybe we didn't think about in 2021 when this initially came before us to discuss with our police department. And I know we've said there's going to be some, things that we discuss or some expectations that we would have as it relates to the auditing as well as the surveillance of the actual flock system and the database itself. So, but it was very insightful, especially to get their perspective on some particular issues as it relates to flock and the deflocking of Lynn Haven. So that is my report. Commissioner Peebles?
Thank you, Mayor. Like the mayor said, we had our interviews with the three finalists for the chief of police position. So thank you to the staff for putting that together. It was really awesome. All three candidates were excellent, very excellent. And so thank you for putting that together. One thing I wanted to address was that last commission meeting. Mr. Thompson came up here and said something about 5 CDs or whatever. I just wanted to say on the record that I didn't know what he was talking about at the time as far as the 5 CDs go, but I went back and did more research on it. I just made the assumption that since Commissioner Tender had that evidence, said she turned it over, I was under the impression that it was being handled. I went back, read the reports. It was handed over to the sheriff's office. They did their report. The main thing I gathered from this whole situation is whether or not things are handled properly from here on forward, we need to take, I would like to see the new chief of police look very closely at the evidence and custodian policies, make them stricter so that this doesn't ever happen again, and that we look at how to enforce those policies, because really ultimately that's what it came down to, is we need to have better policies. And that's one of the things I asked all three chief of police candidates was, how are you with police policies? Because we need to work on them. And I'm confident that all three candidates had an extensive background in police policy, so that was good. And with that, I'm sure we'll have more conversation about the deflocking and all that. I guess I'll just go ahead and ask Mr. Lightfoot, since there was a question about number 11. Do you just want to go ahead and answer that? Number 11 on the agenda?
Yes, sir. So that is the legislative stormwater project. We've got the project completed and just cleaning it up. We had a lot of extra fill that had to be removed from the site. Wasn't any good. New fill taken back in, as well as some inlet modifications there. So another reason to add it to this agenda is we need to get reimbursed. In order to do that, we need to complete the change order, get all of our paperwork in line so that Mr. Baker can submit for reimbursement to the state.
Thank you. Sure, we'll have more talk about the flock cameras because we have I believe the flock representative presentation coming up, so we'll be able to talk about that more. But with that, just want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and hope everyone has a Happy New Year. And there's a lot of people around getting sick, so take your vitamin C. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have much other than to wish everybody a Happy New Year. We all did our interviews with the finalists of the police chief position. We all went to Wreaths Across America. Even city manager was there too, and I thought it was a great morning, and I got to see people that really take that to heart, and it was a good experience. I hope everybody had a great holiday and continues to enjoy the new year safely. So with that, I wish many thanks to all of our employees and first responders, and that's my report.
All right. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ward. So I also went to the Wreath Across America. As always, every year it's an awesome event. If you've never been to it, I highly recommend going next year. It's a very sobering event. And after that, I went with Mr. Lightfoot to animal shelter where they had, what was it, dogs and donuts or whatever it was called. I didn't have any donuts. No, I didn't get a dog either. I didn't get a dog. But he showed me around in some of the areas that they wanted to improve over there. So I had a good walkthrough and got a warm welcome from the animal shelter, and I appreciate everything they do over there. One thing I did since last commission meeting is I met with the city clerk over in Panama City, was able to sit down and kind of understand the duties and responsibilities of the city clerk over there. Theirs is kind of unique because they also have the financial aspect that they do. And a good portion of it I kind of had a good grasp of, but she also taught me some other things with the duties and responsibilities of city clerk, especially with them doing financial things. So I'm hoping to use that information whenever it comes to us and possibly go on the referendum. And I think that was pretty much it. All right, Commissioner Tinder.
Thank you. Certainly Merry Christmas to everybody. It's been, for me personally, I'll have to totally be retrained when I go back to work. I've been off work since the 20th, and I'm not going back till the 6th. So some of the things that my phone has been ringing off the hook. I have to say that first about many things. One of the things I can say regarding the whole bullet situation, the Macklin situation, that whole thing, I was only involved in that because that person, that resident, wanted to give me the evidence. I then called, and interim police chief Infinger sent over a investigator from the sheriff's department. He came to the cafe. I saw everything that was there that this person brought back, and I then left the room and said I didn't want to hear anything else. I left the room until they all left. This evidence was given to the gentleman at the sheriff's department, and I'm here to tell you that was never even given a case number at the sheriff's department. I jokingly said, oh, he probably picked it all up and brought it over here and dropped it off. I don't know that, but I do know for a fact it was never given a case number at the sheriff's department. So with that said, I'm still in question of that. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that I don't understand about all of the IT equipment. I still don't understand how that was just disregarded, and it was decided not to press any charges for all that equipment. And I've been told that was between $70,000 and $80,000 worth of equipment that disappeared and was brought back upon a phone call from someone. That just leaves big questions in my mind. The person with this bullet casing situation with Mr. Or Officer McLinden, they call me and say, have you heard anything? Do you know anything? And I hate to always have such a negative attitude about it, but I always tell this officer, no, I've not heard anything else. It's just it's just there. One of the things that, well, are we going to discuss the potential police chief later? And then we'll be able to discuss that, okay? Then I won't say anything about that. I also received a phone call from a police officer with long time experience. And I was told that an officer can put a phone number, their phone number, in the flock system and put in who they're tracking. And every time that flock system picks that number up, it will text that person that's put their phone number in there. I don't know if it's true. I'm just saying this is what I have been told by people with experience. And I don't know one way or another. But I also talked right after the last meeting, I went and called the folks at the country club, because we were all talking about the fact the country club has flock. And sure enough, had a very lovely conversation with the lady from the HOA there. They do have flock there. They pay for them, just like Chris said. They pay for the machines they have. And when I asked her who had access to that material on those flock cameras, her answer to me was the board of directors. We can all look at it. And I said, well, can I just ask, why do you have it there? And she said, so they know who's coming and going in and out of their community. So I guess as a group, anybody could go out and purchase a flock program for their neighborhood or whatever. I like Corey's idea. I could get rid of my cell phone tomorrow, Corey, and not miss it one bit. Not one bit. And I like his idea. Let's go back to 1990. But anyway, and I know that the flock representative is here, and I do think it's more about regulations and about backup and follow up to make sure that we're doing what we say we're doing. That's the most important thing. And we're all talking transparency, and that's my number one goal for 2026. Let's get transparent. And that would make a good flyer now that I said that. Let's get transparent. Anyway, I think that's all I have. I want everybody to have a nice holiday, and 26 has got to get better as we go. And hopefully we can guide into the direction that it's never going to suit all. Everybody's not going to always be happy, but hopefully the majority. And we can get some solid things in place for 2026. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Lightfoot?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Tender, on the report that I sent you of Mr. McElinden, there's actually two case numbers on it. One's a reference case number, and then one is a PSU complaint number. And then that's on the first page at the very top there. And then the sheriff's office has a memo that they did with all of their findings as well in that report I sent you. Told you all already, but the salary study has been started. Evergreen was the lowest bidder on that. We got that started. So hopefully within the next 90 to 120 days, we'll start seeing some data and start being able to bring that to you all so we can kind of adjust some salaries and get some of that cleaned up. Playground at Kane Griffin Park will be closed to the public beginning January 5th, and that will last through the end of February so that we can make the park renovations there. We'll have it all fenced off and closed. Hopefully it'll be cold during that time, so no one misses out on a lot of park time. And then
The whole park or just the playground?
just the playground portion, yes, sir. And then the Perry weather system is up and running. Got a lot of unexpected feedback on Facebook for that, but that is actually a lightning detection system for the splash pads, for the ball fields. That was in the budget. Fire Chief Johnson can speak more on it if you would like some more information from him on that. But it is finally up and running, and we can utilize that throughout our parks.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Before we go on to the flock, any questions for Ms. Roman with the checklist?
I only have one question. You've already answered the others that I had. And I believe if I could impose on interim police chief Infinger, I think you're the only person that can answer my questions. Is he here? Yeah. There was, and I'm just going to start to explain what I'm going to ask you. There was one check that we issued for $6,720 to a company called Magnet Forensics. And you know me, I'm always pinching pennies. But it said a subscription, a dues, police dues. So I looked them up, Magnet Forensics, and they specialize in digital evidence. Can you just explain to us what that is?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that and get back to you.
Okay.
So I don't know off the top of my head what that is, but I'll get an answer for you.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
That's the only question I had.
The flock.
All right. This time we'll have our flock representative to come for presentation, and did speak with interim manager Lightfoot earlier. So what we'd like to do tonight is allow the presentation, or have the presentation. After the presentation, open to the public for about 15 minutes for questions, and then bring it to the commission for any questions that we might have.
Good evening. How's everyone doing? First, I want to thank you all for having me here tonight, and also Mr. Brampton at IT. We had to wrestle to get this presentation up, so got it up there, and as well as Deputy Chief Enfinger as well for asking us to be here today. My name is Kerry McCormick, and I am on the public affairs team at Flock Safety. I've been with the company for about 3 months. Prior to this, I was 10 years a city council member in Cleveland, Ohio. So you can imagine when my boss said, hey, I need you to go down to Florida when it's -3 feels like temperature in Cleveland, this was not a hard yes for me. So appreciate you all having me down here. And you can tell I'm already getting a little sunburn just from being outside. This evening, I just want to give you a brief overview of our company, who we are, who we aren't. I know you've heard a lot in the press. You've heard a lot from, different websites and things like that. But I think it's important that we ground the conversation in exactly who we are or are not. So next slide, please. So just a brief overview on our company. So we are an American company. We are based in Atlanta, Georgia. But we have folks around the country. So, for example, I'm based in Cleveland, Ohio. We've got a significant team in Florida, all around the country. So we are spread out across the country. We have 6,000 communities that we partner with, every state except Alaska. Not quite sure why not Alaska, but Alaska's not in there yet. But we range from small towns to big cities. We truly run the gambit. I've been at commission meetings, with under 1,000 folks that live in a community. And we serve all the way up to the biggest cities in the country. We also have 1,500 businesses that we work with across the country. So think about retail shops, different organizations, as well as HOAs too. And I'll explain a little bit more how they differ in the system. But we primarily focus on local communities, but we also have business partners. In addition, 2,800 crimes are solved per day using Flock. We like to be very clear about that. Police solve crimes, law enforcement solves crimes, but using our tool, it's able to help them do that, and we'll dig into that. As well as 15% of reported crime in the U.S. Solved using Flock. This was from a TSU independent study that they ran for us. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, hardworking law enforcement across the country solves crime. We know that, but we see ourselves as a collaborative policing technology and partner with law enforcement and communities. So that's that force multiplier, enabling agencies of all sizes to solve more crime and increase quality of life. I'll speak for myself. Coming from Cleveland, we're 300 officers short. So this, whether you're fully staffed or you're struggling with staffing, can be a force multiplier to achieve the public safety goals that are important to community members across the country. Next slide, please. So tonight we'll focus on license plate readers. That is what's active here in Lynn Haven. So license plate readers take a one-time photo of the back of a vehicle. And so as you can see here, what happens is if your police department uploads a plate into what's called a hot list, that is when it will alert the department. So if I'm driving down the road and I'm not on the hot list, I will not alert the department. So for example, if there's an individual that is wanted for a crime, so whether that's assault or homicide, heaven forbid, and the police department uploads that plate into the system, that's when it'll ping an alert. Commonly too, we also see things like child abductions, unfortunately, and silver alerts. So those are our senior citizens that may have memory challenges too. Law enforcement across the country upload that information into, and we're proud to partner with organizations like the National Center for Missing and Endangered Children, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which we'll see in a little bit too, that we work with to find missing family members. Vehicle fingerprint is also a component of the technology. So again, captures the back of the vehicle. So it's going to get the license plate and then the characteristics in the back of the vehicle. So as Deputy Chief Enfinger can tell you, sometimes when folks commit crime, they will swap a plate, they'll take the plate off, different things like that. So that way, the photo of the back of the vehicle can tell you what's the make of the vehicle, body type, color, does it have a roof rack? Essentially what you would get if you stood at the corner of the street with your iPhone and took a picture of the back of that car. So it's going to be able to identify those items. Night vision, I don't need to tell anybody here, crime happens at night too. So the cameras are equipped with night vision. So even in the night, they're able to see a plate or characteristics. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we really want to focus on tonight is privacy and transparency. From the very beginning of this company being founded, this was a core pillar and it remains that way today. Next slide. So let's talk about facts. So we'll start on my left-hand side. I think, yep, everybody's left-hand side. So the data that is collected by Flock, so the photo of the back of the vehicle, is owned by the community in which it belongs to. So the picture, any photos that are taken in Lynn Haven are owned and controlled by Lynn Haven. Flock does not sell data. It is not our business plan. We do not do it. It is in your contract. We do not sell data. We're not a social media company. We're not Facebook or Google, anything like that. Private customers never have access to government data or hot lists. Really important. So that HOA, that country club, that Home Depot, that store that might use Flock, they do not have access to any law enforcement data. They can allow law enforcement to ask for their photos, but they cannot access the system or any law enforcement information. Flock automatically deletes the data after 30 days unless it is downloaded for an investigation. So unless the police department says, hey, we got a photo, it's involved in a crime, and we're going to download that photo, unless they do that, the information and the pictures and the data are hard deleted at a 30-day level. We can't recover them. You can't recover them. They are hard deleted. Flock has no access to personally identifiable information. Again, this is the photo of the back of a vehicle. So the photo will not tell you who's in the car, who's driving it, their favorite color, their phone number, their name, any of it. So none of that information comes with the photo of the back of the vehicle. And only your agency decides who to share with, not Flock. So agencies across the country, as you can imagine, make their own decisions for what's best for them. There are certain agencies that say, we want to share in a nationwide network. There are other agencies that say, we only want to share with the state of Florida or the state of Ohio or the state of Nevada. There are some agencies that say we only want to share with our county or our neighboring towns. That is completely up to the discretion of the agency. Obviously, as law enforcement professionals will tell you, crime doesn't stop at the exact border of the town. So usually it makes sense to collaborate with the communities around you when looking for crime or missing people or senior citizens, because those things usually don't stop at the border of your community. The right-hand side talks about the encryption of the data. So the moment the photo of the back of the vehicle is taken, it is encrypted from front to back, which I am not a computer scientist. Essentially, that means that the image is scrambled before it goes into the cloud to ensure that it cannot be corrupted or hacked. And then we are also, we use the AWS Gov Cloud. What that means is all of these letters to the right here are all certifications for securing data, national certification. So even though the photo is of a public license plate owned by the state on a public road, Flock treats that data like it were a social security number. Again, we don't have that, but we treat it that sensitively to ensure the safety of the data. And you can see there, how we align that cybersecurity. To be clear, Flock has never been hacked. Our data, our customers' data, has never been hacked, period. Next slide, please. All right, so a couple other items here. What you'll see on the right-hand screen here is an example of what's called a transparency portal. Some communities choose to use these, some don't. Again, the company believes in empowering local communities to make their own decisions. So what this transparency does, San Joaquin County, California, and you can also choose to use this or not, and also what information you want up there. So right here, kind of hard to read, but it will show you who they share with. That's that long list right there. How many cameras they have, what type of information, what is the period of time that they save the data and things like that. So that is publicly accessible to anybody who wants to look at it. So that's available to anyone that wants to use those. We also have protections built in place. So for example, every search requires a registered ID with a search reason and case number. And what that is so when an officer goes in to say, hey, plate 123 ABC was involved in retail theft, they have to outline what the reason is they're looking for that plate, who the officer was that looked for it, what were the circumstances around that. And all of that information, every time a police officer goes in that's authorized to use the system does so, it is put into a permanent audit trail. So what that means, even though the data, the photos delete after 30 days, there is an audit trail that shows you who did what, when, and for what reason. And any community can pull up those audits. The other thing we'll note here is, and we encourage folks to use those audit tools. That's the next point there. Another thing too, we have more tools coming into place from our engineers to ensure compliance. I'll say as an anecdote, you'll hear a few examples of where agencies across the country have misused the system. A couple things, a few examples. Out of 6,000 agencies that use this every single day across America. And that's why you can count these on a single hand. However, zero misuse is acceptable. And that's why we encourage anytime, whether it's Flock or not, anytime there's misuse within the government, that misuse is fully investigated and treated under the laws of that community. So we fully encourage that. Next slide, please. So another thing just to mention here, again, doubling down on transparency and accountability. Flock has brought on a new chief legal officer to lead our compliance. We have tripled our policy headcount. Those policy folks are building in more and more tools in the system. We expanded our trust and safety programs, revamped customer training. So we're going back to our customers to ensure that they understand how the system works and what those levers are within the system. We added a product compliance manager role as well. And then again, as I noted earlier, we are releasing new built-in compliance protections into the system. So we've got search filters in place. As you can see there, additional search filters. We've got proactive auditing that's come in, as well as federal limitations. And so what that means is there are certain states around the country, California is an example, by law, they prohibit a local agency from sharing information with the federal government. So the system is able to accommodate those laws state by state, community by community to ensure they're in compliance. The other thing we've done is to ensure that you all know who you're sharing with, and to make sure that you're comfortable with the communities that you're sharing with. And then the standardized search reasons, that requires agencies that use it to put a standard law enforcement certified search reason in there. So it can't be, a random reason. It's got to be a legal reason outlined within federal law enforcement manuals. Next, please. A couple of myths and facts here. So LPRs can track people and show police everywhere they go. That is not true. These are point-in-time photos that, again, generate an alert if the police department puts a plate in for a specific reason. So Carrie McCormick committed a armed robbery at 123 Main Street. We're going to put my plate into there to then see if I am driving throughout the town, as an example. And courts have consistently found that images of public documents, so license plates on public roads, is not a violation of privacy nor the Fourth Amendment, which we'll talk about right here. So a myth that LPRs violate the Fourth Amendment. So appellate and federal district courts in at least 14 states where this has been tried, including the 9th and 11th circuits, have upheld using evidence from license plate readers as constitutional without requiring a warrant. So federal courts tested throughout the country have held that up. Next slide, please. So Flock sells customer data, the myth, compiling it all into a national database. Communities own 100% of their data. We do not sell it. That's not only our policy, it's in your contract. And again, we work with 6,000 agencies around the country that can tell you that every day. A myth, Flock's private customers, I already talked about that. So private customers don't have access to law enforcement data. Next slide, please. So a myth, Flock's LPR cameras use facial recognition. That is just not true. The cameras do not use facial recognition. They do not have the capacity to do that. They do not do it. LPR cameras collect personally identifiable information. Once again, we talked about that earlier. The LPR cameras get the back of the car, so the plate, make, model, color, things like that. They don't know who's in the car. They don't get a picture of the person or anything like that. Next slide, please. This is the last myth slide, I believe. So, LPR cameras negatively impact communities of color. So that has been shown over and over not to be the case, especially because this is factual, demonstrable, objective evidence. This was actually recently recognized by the Oakland, California NAACP, who has been highly supportive of the technology in the community. LPRs don't have an impact on crime. Again, simply not true. You ask law enforcement agencies across the country that use our technology, and they can tell you, and again, we have some specific examples here, but they can tell you how how Flock's technology can have a big impact on reducing crime. Next slide, please. So again, I'm not going to read these, but you can see across the country, there's news stories every single day about how our technology is being used. Recently, it was a high-profile case, but the Brown MIT shootings that happened in New England, the FBI and local police specifically credited Flock for being able to find the individual who committed those murders. But that's a high-profile picture. There are many other examples around the country every day. Next slide. Here in Florida, next slide. So there's 160 law enforcement plus law enforcement agencies using Flock. A few examples you can see right here in front of you. Next slide. Some real stories from here in Florida. So Florida City PD, March 28th, Homestead police officers responded to reports of an attempted abduction. 13-year-old victim recounted that a male suspect attempted to drag her into his vehicle as she was walking to school. After reviewing the surveillance footage and obtained a description of the vehicle, which they shared with the PD, They put that into their LPR system, again, uploaded that plate into the system, identifying a vehicle. Officers responded to the vehicle owner's residence and arrested the suspect. So again, an example of good policing work assisted by the technology. I'm not going to read through all these, but a wanted homicide suspected also arrested. Next slide, please. And then again, the child abduction, another child abduction as well. Next slide, please. So quick case example, and again, emphasizing the power of this technology. This is a real story from a mom and a little baby in Georgia. So 12:33, an Amber Alert was issued PM from a random abduction. This was not someone that knew the family. A random person abducted this baby. 1:01 PM, a search was conducted using Flock. 2:30 PM, the suspect vehicle was located. 5:03 PM, law enforcement made a felony stop and arrest. 6 PM, baby reunited with her mother. So you can imagine what I would imagine would be the worst day of her life. With the hard work of law enforcement and the use of the technology, they were able to bring that baby home. Again, we talked about the court challenges to Flock, but again, over and over again, has been found to be upheld by the Fourth Amendment. Next slide, please. So just a couple examples. Again, like I said, some of our supporters and partners, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, National Center for Missing and Endangered Children. We partner too with organizations that also are working to crack down on human and sex trafficking, some of those heinous crimes that happen in our country. Next slide, please. Again, as I noted before, the Oakland NAACP, talking about how this is objective evidence in removing bias. Next slide, please. Thank you. I hope I didn't go too long.
All right, thank you for your presentation. At this time, we'd like to open the floor. We can go row by row for about 15 minutes. If there's some questions from we're going to go to the public first and then come back to us.
You got it.
If there's
side or
if you just stand to the side of the podium. Don't go too far because they're going to come. You're going to have to answer the question. Yeah. All right. First row, Mr. Langford.
One of them kids' stories, that's what gets after me. Let's say there was an Amber Alert that came out on my phone, and it said, hey, we got a missing child. Was last seen in a red Toyota Corolla. Here's the tag number. Okay? And I go and I drive my car out here to Bailey Bridge. And I stand there and I start taking pictures with my cell phone of cars that go by, specifically a red Toyota Corolla. And I find that tag number. I call the Lynn Haven Police Department and I say, hey, I just saw this red Toyota Corolla that I got this Amber Alert on. Can you explain to me the difference between me doing that and the Flock system, please?
Thank you for the question. The difference would be you probably don't have time to sit at that corner and take those photos, but functionally it is the same thing, except obviously the camera is in place and would be taking the photos of that. So functionally no difference in the sense that you and your phone or a Flock camera is taking a photo of that plate, and then you calling here, the Flock system would send an alert to the PD saying, hey, that red car drove by. Yeah, again, the LPR cameras take a photo of the back of the plate as you could if you stood out on the corner. Yes, sir.
And just one more question, I guess. There's been made mention of people hacking into cameras. Now, I noticed that you said that the data has never been hacked into, but there's been claims that cameras are being hacked into and we're being able to watch little kids. Now, we've got cameras here, and I know you're not from here, but it's you can actually go on this website, and there's cameras all on our beach over there. You can actually take control of the camera, and you can pan it and look at people on the beach. These are just local cameras. This isn't Flock, but my question would be, since we can do that with those cameras, okay, if people were able to hack into these cameras, could you kind of elaborate on if that was the case?
Absolutely. And so again, as a context, over 80,000 cameras across the country, 6,000 agencies that operate the system well every day. There is a kind of infamous internet guy that got his hands on one of our cameras. We don't know how. He took it apart and kind of went through it, and he was able to essentially access factory settings. So he was not able to access data, databases, AWS web services, anything like that. So that was one example that went around the internet. Again, he got his hands on a camera. It's illegal to remove them, but he got his hands on one. But that was at factory settings. So again, did not have access into data. The second component was, and I don't remember when the report came out, and this is not LPRs. So I believe you all only have LPRs here. I think? Yes. Okay. So this would not have impacted Lynn Haven at all, but I believe there were 40 live cameras that when they were being installed, there was a feed issue, and someone on the internet was able to not get into the data, not get into any recordings, but temporarily get into the view. So that was a real issue. I think it was about 40 cameras out of the thousands across the country. Obviously, and that was while they were being installed and certified within the Verizon system. Now, again, I apologize. I am not a computer scientist. But again, the company immediately rectified that as well. So that went around the internet as well.
Mr. Switzer.
Questions. How are you going to eliminate crime if your cameras only take pictures of crimes? It doesn't make sense. That was the first slide is we're going to eliminate crime, but you're not. Number two is how is it that you come about that 15% of the crimes are solved using Flock when the data is deleted after 30 days?
Yeah, really important questions. First, I would say that the company's goal is to work with law enforcement across the country to eliminate crime. I'm proud of that goal. I imagine most residents want to see crime reduced, and it'd be a great day if it went away in total. The way our system works is, again, as I said in the very beginning, we are not police officers. We do not arrest anybody. We don't do any of that. We are a tool for law enforcement. And so whereas a case, whether it is a child abduction, whether it is a homicide, whether it is a burglary, may have taken, if it is solved, because I'll speak for myself and the community I live in, we're getting better, but we had almost half of our homicides went unsolved. What this technology does is police officers are able to use it to expedite the process and to find hard evidence to investigate folks that have committed crime or, again, a missing child or something like that. So, again, our police officers do the hard work. Our law enforcement, sheriffs, they do the hard work. This is a tool for them to quickly, and from an objective evidence perspective, identify a criminal or, again, a missing child of that sort, and to investigate that individual. We also, just as a side note that I didn't mention earlier, we encourage every department that we work with. So let's see, 123 ABC plate went by 5th and Main Street. We encourage every department to instruct their patrol officers to visually confirm, yep, that's ABC 123 red Toyota, before they initiate a stop. So we do encourage departments to make that visual confirmation. So again, how do we eliminate crime? We work with police departments and law enforcement as a tool to assist them in doing that. Second question on, second question. Sir. Oh, yes, thank you. So Texas Christian University ran a study on the system, and we can provide that study to you. It's public, where they went through available data and came up with that number from our partner agencies. Now, what I want to be clear, though, is that this is the community's data. It is not our data. So we don't have a repository of all of the photos, and they're deleted after 30 days. And so local law enforcement agencies, which I know you all know, so please, I'm not preaching at you, they hold their crime data and the crime statistics by local community. So we don't hold that statistics. That's a law enforcement data component.
All right, Ms. McElroy.
Agree that your tool is valuable to get the bad guys or ladies off the street. But we also have to remember the human element that goes into that tool. And sometimes you don't have people that have access to a tool like that with the best intentions. So that's where technology gets ahead of what the process is, what the laws should be, in order to protect not the bad guys and ladies, but the innocent. So, for example, if someone in law enforcement decided they wanted my tag, just because you do get a lot of information from a tag. My friend back there and I were talking about it. If you've got the tag, you can get someone's driver's license, you can get information based off of that tag. And someone just might want to have the information for people that haven't committed crimes for the sake of nefarious reasons or reasons that aren't based off of legitimate law enforcement, because not everyone that is a law enforcement officer is necessarily a good person either. So that's where I would ask the commission to make sure process is in place so we don't have shell casings hidden in a sofa of a law enforcement officer at his foreclosed home.
Miss Laura.
Just quickly,
Sure.
Mayor, it's up to you. It's your
No,
floor.
no, I didn't know she asked a question. I just thought she made a statement.
Just very quickly, I wanted to make a note, really important question, and that's why most law enforcement agencies limit the amount of folks that have access to the system. And again, a reminder, every single search is logged, every single search. And then for the few cases of abuse that we've seen around the country, we encourage, again, whether it's flock or abuse and public abuse in any other way, that those be investigated to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, Miss Laura, and then we'll come to you, Mr. Walker.
My question would be, why doesn't Flock require two-factor or multi-factor authentication block-wide? And if a user other than the account holder had access to login, how would Flock know if that had occurred?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, question around multi-factor authentication. So essentially, if you ever go on to a website and it makes you send a message to your cell phone or something else, that's the multi-factor authentication. So 97% of our users do use MFA, and it is our default setting, period. There is a 3% of users, generally in rural parts of the US, that don't have the technology in place to do that are not using MFA, but it is our multi-factor authentication. It is our default, so we have to work with users, again, usually in more rural, lower income parts of the community, but we are actively working to get that number to 100%. Question about logins. Every time, again, someone logs into the system, pulls a report, things like that, it's all in the audit trail, and so that would be in your audit. Is again the easiest way to answer
other question would be, I'm not super technologically savvy, but in terms of how the AI identifies vehicles, it has to be trained to identify vehicles, correct? And then follow up would be, since it's a computer, it allows for software updates. And how would something like that work?
Yep, really good question. And again, I'm also not a computer scientist, so forgive me. So again, the cameras take a picture of the back of the vehicle, and they're able to identify through sorting. Again, is it red? Is it a Toyota? What's the license plate? Does it have a big bumper sticker on the back? So the cameras do have that capability. And then, again, software updates, yes, thank you. So yes, actually one of the benefits of the system is that Flock does run software updates on its cameras as a part of your contract. Just like any piece of equipment, it's something that you want to do every once in a while. We have an entire team called Community Success Group. They work directly with law enforcement and agencies, yourself included if you'd like. Anytime there's a software update, there's a change, they will schedule a meeting with you if you'd like and walk you through what those are. Those are really important because a lot of times they help update the system and keep it running well. But we have an entire team that's literally built in to walk you through those changes.
All right, Mr. Walker.
I had this discussion when we first brought up the subject with one of the commissioners, and he made a remark that the codes and everything that are protected very rarely get broken. There's only one code that's ever been used that's not been broken. Period. In all the years, being a communications officer for the United States government, very, very critical of security. If you delude yourself to believe that encryption systems, codes, not being hacked right now, you're a fool. You got it. You're at it. So if you've got a camera doing something out there, they do it with the gas stations. They ride by with a reader, and they get it right away. Do not delude yourself. You have to have faith in what you hire to do the job. The United States government does not allow our codes to be manufactured or out for purchase. They are self-contained. They have never been broken to date. The one code that never was broken was the Code Talkers, Navajo Indians.
Yes, sir.
So, quick question. I think maybe you said, maybe I didn't catch it, your job position. Are you like a sales rep or a public information officer?
Great question. So my official title is I'm a manager of public affairs. I don't sell anything. I do not make commission. I'm on our external affairs team. So when communities like yours have really important questions, they send me to Florida, thankfully when it's 30 degrees in Cleveland, to answer questions. But no, I don't sell anything. I don't make commission. I'm not on the sales team.
That leads me to ask this. So say you don't sell the data to anybody else or anything like that, but there are agencies that can be set up to share with neighboring agencies or the counties or whatever state. But really help it make it sense that we are the taxpayers. We fund them. We fund the state agencies. We fund the police. So therefore, we're going to pay for our data to be accessed not only by y'all, but by them and whatever other agencies. So really, we're paying for our own selves to be collected. So help me make sense that you're not selling the data, but you are selling the data, because when you buy into a contract, you're doing that's sales. And I know a little bit about sales because I did a lot of that being out here in the service industry and hospitality in Panama City Beach for years, growing up as a kid. So how is that not selling the data?
I think that's a really, really good and important question. The differentiator I would draw there is usually what would happen is a company would, like a Facebook or social media, they would collect your data. What are you buying? Where did you search? Things like that. And then they would go to other companies trying to sell you things and sell that information about you. Flock does not do that. So yes, like any service that you get into, you pay for Flock. Whether it's road repair, you buy tires for your city vehicles, or whatever that might be, you absolutely pay for the service. The difference is that that data that is collected is put into a unique cloud for the city of Lynn Haven on the AWS server and deleted after 30 days. When it's in the cloud, it doesn't go to other companies or anything like that. The city has the ability to share it with other law enforcement if they wish. So they could say, Panama City, we want to, share our information with you so that if there's a person that committed a crime in Lynn Haven and drives into Panama City, you could share that, but it's on a law enforcement basis. None of that information is sold to third party for monetization.
My other question is that I just got to bring up my note real quick. Flock Alpha Dome and what's the other one? Nova. So there's the drone system that you have that's being developed, and then the Nova Flock system with the data compiling platform, which is property records, body-worn camera, transcripts, social media, and other sources, not only to a license plate hit, but raising the other concerns with other information being compiled by the other agencies that are being developed inside with Nova. And so there's also Flock Aerodome, and that's a multi-drone operation system. And then the Flock Alpha drone can see up to 2,000 feet. So those are possible upgrades that you could sell on a contract?
Yeah, so Lynn Haven does not have Nova or the drones, so just to put that out there. But yes, Flock does offer drones. One of the benefits of that, and again, forgive me, I'm 3 months in, reflecting my time on city council, is we had some really bad, deadly police chases. And so the drones, for example, can be really helpful aiding in safer police chases. We're also talking to fire departments with it too. So if you get, for example, a warehouse fire, fire department can throw up the drone and do a 360 of the warehouse fire, keeping the firefighters safer. So there's different uses for the drones. The Nova system is a way to in a more easy way, find information, publicly available information on a suspect. You all don't have either one of those. I'm not here to sell anybody on anything. I'm just saying that you don't have it, so you just have the LPRs. So but yes, those are both available from the company.
Anyone from this side? Mr. Scray?
So when this first came up here locally, I had sent to our interim city manager and our deputy police chief kind of like a very bare bones kind of policy based on a lot of the concerns. What I'm wondering is, as a company who kind of created this and runs all this, do you guys have a department or a team, and you given your background of being on municipal government, do you guys have a team that can come work with our city commissioners and our city staff? Your goal, you said, is transparency. It's obvious that policies need to be enhanced. I'm happy you guys are using two-factor authentication. There's always hard tokens for those that don't have good cell phone access. But my question is, do you guys have a team that's focused on municipal policy, state policy, stuff like that, that can come help our city leaders make a better policy so that way, as residents, there's a better sense of transparency and security, making sure that that portal is being utilized, making sure that there's not just generic search terms like investigation being put in, and just I would like to see Lynn Haven be the example that you use as, hey, this is what a good city should do for you residents to feel better about this being in place. So I guess I'm going to put the onus on Flock. As much money as you guys are getting us to pay for this, what do you have that can help us be that city?
Really great question. The short answer is absolutely. I was going to say I can put you in contact with them tomorrow, but tomorrow's New Year's Eve. I'm not going to do that. But after the holidays, short answer is absolutely. So we have, and I noted on one of the slides earlier how we've expanded our policy team. So our policy team is really, really bright individuals, like much smarter than I will ever be, former federal prosecutors, attorneys, et cetera, that can do many things. So they can meet with Lynn Haven and share what other cities have adopted throughout Florida or throughout the country from a policy perspective. They can't provide you legal advice. That is your city attorney who's sitting over here. But they can provide you information and point you to the state law, if there are laws, and how they regulate in Florida around ALPR and data. But the short answer is absolutely there can be more policy created that is shared with the community, transparent, outlines usages, outlines sharing, all of that. And we have folks on our team who can support. Again, we want you all to make that for your community. That's not something that the company wants to produce for you, but we absolutely can share with you best practices, what other cities have done. We can connect you with other city attorneys that have developed these policies. So long way to say absolutely.
Any other questions from this side? Yes, ma'am.
It's just a quick question that I tried to listen to, but I might have missed it. After the 30 days and the information's deleted, it is then not accessible even by law enforcement, correct?
And forgive me, my mother always used to say I talk way too fast. But yes, if I glazed over that too quickly, my apologies. After the 30-day period, it is hard deleted. No one can access it. It's gone.
All right. We'll come to our commission now. We'll start with Commissioner Tender and go down the road. Commissioner
Thank
Tender.
you. I only have, I believe, one question. Is there, in your thinking, any relation to what Mr. Bearclaw was talking about with Amazon?
The Ring cameras, is
there a relation between that and Flock?
So the short answer is yes, Flock has a relationship with Ring cameras. What that is that in a scenario in which there is a crime in the area, in a local police department, and I believe that there are networks around here, a resident has to opt in to a local network of Ring cameras to say, hey, if a crime happens on my street, you can call me and ask me for my footage. And then what will happen is if Carrie McCormick says, I live at 123 Main Street, I got a Ring camera, you let me know if something happens on my street and you can contact me about it. A resident has to opt into that. So it has to affirmatively say, yes, I want to be a part of that network. And those networks have existed for quite a while. It's not just the Ring and the, what is the other one? There are other networks that do the same thing. So yes, if someone opts in, they are then sent a request for their footage through the system, and then they have the opportunity to provide that or not. Again, critically important, that's an opt-in.
Okay, that was going to be one of my other questions, because I think what you're talking about is we have what's called Bayrock, where you're talking where someone has a Ring doorbell, they can fill something out, and the police can access it. My question is, with Flock, do they access the Ring doorbell and actually do license plate recognition through the Ring camera? Or
No, my understanding is that Ring cameras cannot do license plate recognition.
So all the flock system does is says, hey, there's a crime in this area or someone in this area, and then they can try to access their cameras to see if they can see us.
Coordinate. Yeah. And that happens quite a bit. So, communities that will have live cameras, whether they're ours or somebody else's, they can coordinate that technology if they wish. Okay. So they can say, hey, ABC 123 hit an LPR camera. Does the live camera owned by the city of Lynn Haven down the street, did they catch anything? So you can kind of coordinate those. Again, it's up to the PD and the community, but yes, you can coordinate those things if you wish.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay.
That was an important question I had.
Yeah, no problem. So what Commissioner Warwick is saying, does that relate to one of the first stories you told about somebody pulling up, coming to the door of this young girl, and yet you said something about Flock identifying the car? How did that happen if it was parked out in front of her house?
So she saw the description of the vehicle. So when she called police, she said, and again, I don't know the exact vehicle it was, reported about the vehicle.
But then they arrested him at her house.
No, not at the house.
Not.
Nope. They found the vehicle on the cameras, and then I think it was like 2 hours after that, they were able to locate the vehicle, not at her house.
Okay, thank you.
And the police made a stop and a felony arrest.
Thank you.
Yep. And that's, again, the important nuance on the plate, too, because, again, folks can switch a plate. I mean, they do frequently that are used to committing crime, or remove a plate, and that's why the picture of the back with more descriptors on it is important.
Awesome. Thank you.
So first of all, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. The audits. I remember on one of the slides you talked about audits. Is it, if I understand it right, you guys are trying to create something where you guys do audits also, or is there already something in place where you guys already do audits?
So the agencies can do their own audits.
Right.
Yep.
I'm talking about Flock themselves. I thought one slide.
Oh, yeah. No. So what we're doing is we're trying to just clean up the back ends of the audits, but the audits themselves are requested and run by the agencies.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then access, that's all done by the city also. As
100%.
far as who gets access. Someone called me today and asked me this question. I think I know the answer, but can someone request that their license plate cannot be read?
You know what? I don't want to give you a wrong answer on that. My gut says no, but I don't want to give you a wrong answer on that. So let me get back to you on that.
Thank you. Yep. And then this is something I just learned recently after sitting down with Mr. Switzer about the transparency portal. And I went to some of the websites, and I'm a big fan of it, and I think we need to do it in Lynn Haven, had all the stats and that. Does that cost anything, or is it just, we just have to request it?
Nope. You work with our CSA team, and they build it out.
Okay. And then on some of the cities, I noticed that there's a log that you can download. It shows the searches that they've done. And it's limited information, but it shows like the date, the time, it has a category, and then the reason. And I noticed there was a few cities that it was blank. And so my question is, can that field be a mandatory field? So if we have it on transparency portal, it's not blank, that they have to put something in.
The reason, like the reason why they ran the,
right?
Yeah, that's mandatory.
It is?
Yes. So before, I believe it was you wrote it in, but since I've been at the company, they have now made it a mandatory drop down. So you click a button and you have to choose the reason and put one in.
Okay. So it's probably an older one where before that. Okay.
Right. Where I think you would type the reason in.
Okay.
So now you're required to choose it. Essentially, there's a list of law enforcement activities you're required to choose from.
Okay. Awesome. On the first slide, when you talked about myth and facts.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it said, but it said something about if it wasn't on the hit list, does it automatically delete it once it takes a snapshot of it, or does it still stay in there for 30 days?
30 days.
So it still stays in there 30 days.
That's correct.
Now, something that's ongoing, can they request it to be in there longer than 30 days?
They would download it. So if So if it's not downloaded by PD, it's hard deleted after 30 days.
Okay.
Unrecoverable. If something happens, missing child, crime, the PD has to go in and download that image.
Okay. And then put it in again for another 30 days.
So that if they downloaded the image,
if they're on the hit list, they stay on the hit list.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
I got you.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, this is important conversation. Yep.
So I just want the residents to understand, this is kind of the way I'm looking at it. It's kind of like here at City Hall. We have all kinds of PII information in City Hall, you know, people's phone numbers, addresses, date of birth, social security numbers, and that. And we know across the nation there are businesses and organizations and agencies where information gets leaked out. It's our responsibility to make sure we have certain policy and procedures and countermeasures in place to prevent that from happening. And I kind of see that same thing with the flock. Like you're saying, it's our information. And so when I sat down with all the police chiefs, I've actually had conversations about flock with them. And I think that's one thing we need to do is we need to update our policy and procedures to make sure that we have good policy and procedures to make sure we protect that information and get the transparency portal. I think that's another key thing that we need in Lynn Haven. So I think that's all the questions I had. Thank you for coming.
Of course.
You answered or asked the majority of the questions that I had. So one question, I know that 30 days is the standard. Is there any options that it can be maintained less than 30 days?
Yes. So couple quick examples. Certain states by law have shortened that time period. The short answer is yes, you can. The 30 days in engaging law enforcement across the country that was landed on as a number that met the needs of both privacy and essentially meaning that this information isn't just sitting on a server forever and ever and ever, while allowing a PD enough time to perform investigations. So, you know, as we see in our communities, sometimes we don't know about a crime until a day, 2, a week or so after. I would say probably frequently, unfortunately. And so the reason that there is a period of time where the local law enforcement can access that information is to allow for them to use it for an ongoing investigation. So the 30 days was kind of like the perfect, like not holding on for too long, but allowing the PD enough time to access it. But the short answer to your question is yes, that can be changed.
Okay.
Thanks again for coming. Of course. Like the mayor said, most of the questions have been asked, but the one I wanted to get, I guess, drill into a little bit more is, let's just say hypothetically, you've made it very clear, and I think we all understand that this is a tool, and it's up to the agency to make sure that it's used properly. So I think the biggest issue, let me just ask my question. So if we at our agency decided we wanted to do some type of internal audit, what would that look like?
Yep, absolutely. So you, within the existing system that you have access to, you can run an audit, internal audit today.
Okay. So if right now they could just go right in there and say, how many times has this license plate been hit in searches?
If it were, no. So if it were on a hot list and if it were on a hot list. Right.
So only if it's on a hot list.
Right.
So theoretically.
That is what would come up in the audit.
So I guess really, you know, the reports of like where it's been abused, probably the abuser put it on the hot list first and then went and searched it multiple times.
That's right. So again, emphasizing that 6,000 agencies use it properly. You hear about the handful that don't. And you hear about, for example, an officer that unfortunately tracked, I believe, his ex-girlfriend. He would have had to put her plate onto a hot list into the system. But a reason that he was caught and held accountable is because it showed up in the audit.
Right, right.
I mean, very unfortunate situation, but the system worked in that sense that it showed up.
Right.
You mind if I ask real quick?
Sure.
So, but you can do an audit on the searches they do also, right?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Essentially, all the activity, like all the human and law enforcement activity with the system.
Okay, great. So I just want to offer some thoughts that I had. Just so happens that I am a cybersecurity professional, so all these terms that you were saying, I was
Thank
looking
God.
it up. Yeah, I can confirm that the certifications and all that he was talking about are legitimate. But what I think it was Ms. McElroy said earlier, she is correct that in these situations, the number one threat is the human factor. In any situation in cybersecurity, no matter what it is, the number one threat always is an insider threat, which is someone that works in the organization that has access to a system that abuses it. So it doesn't matter if it's Flock, it doesn't matter if it's another system in the city, it doesn't matter if it is a server that Burger King uses. You can use whatever it is, okay? The biggest threat is the people that have access to that system abusing it. And so no matter what happens, the main thing we need to focus on is we need to make sure that we have these audits and they are done. We have to make sure that we have to have strong policies and enforce the policies. There's two sides of it, this policy being created, the policy being enforced. So it's in my opinion that yes, Flock absolutely can be abused. Of course it can, but anything can be abused. So we need to make sure that if we continue with Flock, the main goal is figuring out the best way to eliminate insider threat. It comes down to risk management, and the number one risk is in this situation would be a police officer abusing it. And like I believe it was Ronald Reagan that said, "Trust but verify." That's what we have to do here, no matter what happens. So I just want to offer my thoughts on that.
I think what you're going to find out is the number of things that are in there for a city our size, every one of them can be audited instead of like, hey, just a certain percentage. I think that's what will happen.
Yeah. And that makes me think of one more thing. I think the key thing here that I do like hearing tonight is that we're only using the LPRs. So I think there's been this misconception that if you have a Flock camera, then you have all the capabilities within a Flock camera. And that's understandable to mistake that, but from what I'm gathering is we're only using LPRs. So it'd be like the equivalent of if you bought a laptop. That doesn't mean that you now have all the capabilities that any laptop computer can do. You have this specific laptop computer that has its capabilities. Like Apple may make one type of laptop. That doesn't mean you have all the capabilities of every Apple laptop. You have the capabilities of that Apple laptop. In this situation, we have the capabilities of an LPR. Like was stated earlier, we don't have the Nova or the drones or whatever. I would personally, I get it. I wouldn't want the drones or the Nova either. I'm very happy to hear that we only have the LPRs. I will continue to fight for only LPRs unless my mind has changed down the road. But I am a fan of the LPRs. So thanks.
Hey, Carrie, how you doing?
Good, Commissioner. How are you?
I'm good. And thank you for being here, coming down to the warm South Lynn Haven, even though it's cold as hell tonight. But it's cold. Hey, you've been at this 3 months with Flock, right? Your job?
Yes.
What did you do? You were a councilman in Cleveland itself, the city of Cleveland, or?
Yes, sir. So I represented about 35,000 people in the central business district to the near west side neighborhoods of the city of Cleveland for 10 years.
And what else did you do besides that? Just full-time job?
That was actually a full-time job. Yep.
Way cool. So Flock has you now.
Yes.
And is this because there's what we're doing tonight, is there an uptick in this kind of sense of awareness all over the country right now?
Yes. And honestly, I don't know if my whole team would feel this way. I think it's a really good thing. I was a community organizer before I was a council person. So I worked for a nonprofit organization on our near West Side neighborhoods in English and Spanish, organizing neighborhood residents around safety, economic development, things like that. I went to 10 block clubs a month, every single month for 3 years. Continue to do that as a city council person. I was a ward-based council person.
Yep.
So I was like specific to my area. So I'm a big fan of airing out concerns. I think it's the best thing. Even if you don't leave on the same page, it's a really healthy exercise. So the short answer to your question is yes, and I actually think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're going. I mean, from talking to David, this is something where there's probably a slow precedence building against Flock. So naturally, Flock would want to, face this head on. And I mean, from what I'm hearing, the best thing to go, the next step, your public affairs. You're here because we have an issue and a public perception. And you mentioned that there's a policy team. And I think you would agree that we probably need to take this to the next level. Get your policy team down here, because what we need is stronger policies, enforcement, and whatnot. And if you're offering the help, and do it publicly with transparency or whatever. And I mean, that's kind of what I'm taking from it. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about your background, because I think they, that you didn't just fall into this, and you're not here selling cars. You're here to face something, that's a community concern, and we are too. So that would be my appeal, is that you would take this to the next level, and we'd get some policy team in here to work with our police and our city manager and us here, and share the concerns everybody has, and put the right things in place that need to go on. I know Commissioner Works, he gets himself educated on stuff quick, so that portal and whatever we need to do, and I think that'll make this something that we can all live with if we're going to have it. But there's a trend where you get the right judge, they could nix this whole thing pretty quickly with some precedents to stop stuff. So you got a fight on your hands. So I just wish you the best and appreciate you being here. So but that would be my appeal, is that we ask you to bring your policy team in. So thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. You have my commitment. I'll connect, the group to the policy team. Again, really bright individuals that can take that next step for sure. But I'll just very quickly, and I'm sorry, I don't want to run on your meeting. The reason I joined Flock is because I saw what they did in Cleveland. And I won't get into the story, but had a personal issue, crime issue.
Yep.
And so I've seen what the company can do in support of agencies to solve crime. And to me, that's really important. So that's why I'm here.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions from the commission? All right. Thank you very much.
Mayor, commissioners, and also if I can, to the community members who came out, I just want to thank them too. I think this was a really good, robust conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. At this time, we'll take a 7-minute break and we'll be back. Order at 7:26 p.m.
There's five total.
And the two in the.
This time we'll have our city attorney's report.
I have no report.
All right. Moving on to our consent agenda. Approval of minutes 12/29/25. Approval of change order to BCL Civil Contractors in the amount of $700 for improvements to the CDBG Minnesota Avenue Sidewalk Project. And approval of the change order to ECSC in the amount of $24,843.28 for additional work on the Phase 1B Stormwater Project.
And Mayor, and in more depth answer that was asked earlier about the ECSC change order, on page 23 of your packet, it has the breakdown. So there's $19,800 of demuck and haul off, $20,900 of import clean fill, a $6,643 type C stormwater inlet, and an $1,800 concrete separator sewer conflict modification. But there's also $24,600 deduct of the canvas installation credit and a sheet pile credit. So that makes the total change order $24,843.28.
All right, is there a motion for the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, you call the roll?
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Old business, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2025-12502, approving an interim process for the appointment of department heads.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, confirming the procedure by which department heads shall be appointed pursuant to Section 21 of the city's charter.
So this resolution should not be unfamiliar to you. I tried to mimic the motion I believe was made and carried at a prior meeting. This just formalizes that procedure in a way that is a more permanent piece of legislation for staff and the public.
Any questions for the city attorney?
I don't know if we have Harold put up the slide that I have so everyone can see what we're talking about. So this is the process that we approved back in November that I had briefed about. So,
all right, anything you'd like to elaborate on with it?
I mean, I pretty much said everything at the November meeting. It was pretty detailed. I didn't know if there was anything you wanted to say.
I will say I didn't have the benefit of this slide, so I went by the minutes and by the document I was provided of your presentation. I see you have 5 steps. Mine only has 4. I did try and synthesize it into the steps I thought the commission wanted, but this is your piece of legislation, so if you'd like to change it, certainly feel free to do so.
It pretty much mimics the same thing on this from what I've seen.
So basically, it's saying that the city manager can hire and fire.
So your charter says that. This
Right.
confirms the role of the commission in that process.
Right. Thank you. So every hiring and firing has to have advice and consent?
We're just involved in the hiring process as far as advice and consent, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And that's for department heads, not all employees, just the department heads.
Correct.
All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, comments from the public?
Christy McElroy. I guess right now goes back to processes and everything. You have in this resolution advice and consent. It should be advise with an S, not advice with a C. When you are advising someone, that is the commission advising the city manager. Advise and consent. That means you provide your information, what you feel what you believe is in the best interest of the city and the taxpayers. And then once you go through that process, then you come before this board and you consent with a vote. What I am seeing is the advice is non-existent. You don't have workshops. I think you've hired an IT person, Mr. Lightfoot did, that's no longer here. I think the planning person that took over for Amanda, I don't think she's here anymore. I don't think your vetting process is working right now for this city. And it's advise and consent, not advice. Look, you are a government, and whether you like it or not, your process is supposed to be out in the public. You're not a stock-owned company, and you're not a privately held company. You're paid by the taxpayers. And what I continue to see throughout local government are people that are in positions of now of power without looking for input from the taxpayers or from the elected government. That's a problem because we all are the ones that pay the bills. I think you need to go back and revise this.
All right. Additional public commentary, Mr. Walker.
Thank you. Title reads interim process. My question to here is, if this is going to be your interim process, what is going to be the process and how is that approved? Is that put in the charter? That way? You have to go through the process of putting this process into the charter.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happens when you have an interim city manager? Does he get this whole process, which is for the city manager? He's in the interim. Will that carry over to the interim city manager once it's in the charter? Will that happen?
It applies to the hiring of department heads, and the city manager or the interim who is standing in his shoes has that authority to exercise
We'll
it.
assume all the process that you're going to put in the charter.
Yeah. The charter already requires advice and consent. This is to clarify the procedure and the commission's role in it.
Well, it's coming up on the charter review board, so thank you.
All right. Additional public comments from this side. Yes, sir.
Good evening again, Naylor Bear Claw. I wasn't going to say it, and then nice lady brought up some facts of constitutional considerations. I'm not a legal law scholar, but that's my goal in life is to be one. So I call him Neil G because it sounds gangster, but he's our Supreme Court justice. And he sat there recently, and so did J.D. Vance, and sat there and said, you know, because it disgusts me when law enforcement says this to people or anybody else. You're a sovereign citizen. Are you a sovereign citizen? They clearly stated recently, especially last year and this year, Neil G said it last year, J.D. Vance said it this year, that we the people are the sovereign citizens. We the people are the ones that have control. We are actually the ones that are government. We are the government. We've institutionalized you all to be in this place to make decisions because we've allowed you just that little bit of power. Okay, Ronald Reagan sat there and said it should be a smaller government, that we the people, by the people, for the people, right? He sat there and said that so many times, which has been said beyond just our forefathers. Many people that lived and breathed and died for this country to start off have sat there and said those words. So when you sit back and really listen to these people here, you know, I really have only the dog in the fight with the flock thing and a couple other things. And the ammo and the child records being found. That's where my dog is in the fight. But what it really is that I'm a constitutional person. I've had mental health evaluations. I've been called a constitutional zealot. And that's because I stand on one thing. Okay. There's a movie, Spies Like Us. It's got Tom Hanks in it. Okay. And he sits there and goes, what makes us all one thing? What makes us all come together? He goes, one. The Constitution. That's what brings us all together. We play by that rule book, or we don't need to play it at all. And it's a quote right there in the movie, Bridge of Spies. You should check it out. So that one part right there was absolutely wonderful. So just remember one thing. We are the people. We've voted you in, or they have. They want you to do things constitutionally, protect their rights, listen to them. We are the sovereign. You are the ones that are elected. And there are checks and balances. There is accountability, and there's more than one way. So just because you're here doesn't mean that it doesn't get nationally known, because I know what's going on here, because I've had a retired New York cop call me up and go, "What's going on in Lynn Haven, brother?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? What are you watching?" He's like, "I was bored," and it caught my attention. I was like, okay. So he's aware of what's going on. He lives in Arizona now. So it's just those things I just wanted y'all to bring up. We are the sovereign. You're all the elected ones. Just take your time and listen. And that's all I'm asking.
Hold 1 second. Can I comment? May I comment to what he just said?
Sure.
I hope you come back every damn meeting. Where have you been? You need to come to every meeting.
I show up.
Appreciate everything you have said.
Thank you, ma'am. And I show up when things need to be said. I seem to pop up, and that's what everyone calls. He goes, "Hey, we need your help tonight." And I show up when I'm requested.
Okay,
I would, you know what?
Send me your number. I'll request you every 2 weeks.
You've got it. I will reach out to you through email. I have it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public comments from this side.
Good evening, y'all. Dave Lowry, Hawks Landing. I think we spoke about this back in November. I think this is a very solid, well thought out temporary policy until the charter committee is able to formalize the necessary updates to the city charter. What this will do is actually prevent formal appointments by the current or future city managers without the advice and consent of the city commission. Therefore, a interim or a city manager can't say, "Okay, Bob, you're going to be our new department director of public works," and then come to you guys and say, "Hey, commission, I need you to approve a pay raise for Bob because I've promoted him to this key leadership position." So this inherently forces the commission to be completely involved with that. I would actually argue you need to do it for both the department heads and the deputy department heads, because the deputy department heads are a single heartbeat or a lightning bolt away from being the department head. Your leadership team is your leadership team. And if they're well-qualified, good people, there's nothing in the world that says the commission shouldn't be able to be advised and approve those and approve the promotion with a clear direction of what they're going to get paid and what their benefits are going to be for that support and service. So my hat's off to Commissioner Warwick for developing this. I think it's a great interim solution, and I think it will dovetail very nicely into the future city charter updates.
Any other public commentary from this side? All right. You'll call the vote.
Commissioner Warwick,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles,
Yes.
Commissioner Perno,
Yes.
Mayor Nelson.
Yes. Motion passed. All right. Discussion and possible approval following advice and consent and the hiring of the new chief of police, Mr. Lewis Blanchard, for the city of Lynn Haven.
Yes, sir. So you all got to meet the three candidates and conduct one-on-ones. We had some great applications come in. Our three finalists, I believe, were all outstanding. However, Mr. Blanchard had set himself apart from the others. In conversations with him, I feel that he is the best fit for our agency at this time, and he has some great ideas that he will be bringing. To address a couple of things, Mr. Blanchard is not under investigation, nor has he ever been under investigation for $53,000. There is a news story that you can Google about that with the sheriff that he worked for at the time. The integrity of Mr. Blanchard went to dinner with all three candidates, and he told a story of He actually was about 6 weeks ago. They had a officer involved shooting in Richmond County. He was stopped at the stop sign talking to the sheriff, and he got his foot off the brake, rolled through, and actually hit a car. His fault. He did the accident report, but per policy, he was due a 1-day suspension. So he suspended himself as part of this. So the integrity of Mr. Blanchard is pretty outstanding. I think that he is going to do great things here. He's had 3 police officers work under him that recently became a police chief. So he cares deeply about growing the officers. And I think recruitment and retention is a hot topic for us right now. So with that being said, I believe that Mr. Blanchard is our next chief of police. His start date, if approved, will be February 9th.
All right. Any additional discussion from the commission?
So I just want to ask some questions for the advice part of this is, can you briefly walk us through the criteria used to evaluate the candidates and why Blanchard best met those criteria?
Yes, sir. So kind of hit on that just a second ago about the different integrity. I believe that all 3 finalists that you met brought different characteristics, and I believe that all 3 would have brought a lot of integrity to the department or to the agency. However, the way that he presented himself, the way that he gave stories of his career, the way that he had plans in his 30, 60, 90-day presentation in his interview is what set him apart from the other 2.
Okay. When he went in front of the panel, what did the panel have to say in their recommendation?
They felt their opinion was he was the strongest of the 3. Matter of fact, they got some notes from Mr. Blanchard that they were going to take back to their agency because they thought they were some good ideas that they could talk to their command staff about implementing as well. But his command presence was much more noticeable than the other 2. And he definitely gave the impression to the police chief panel that he could be the next chief.
Okay. What risk did you consider with this appointment, and how do you believe those risks are mitigated?
So no matter which chief pick, we're going to have risk with the public perception. The agency and the city right now is going through a negative perception. Perry Weather System Facebook post, it garnered more negative posts about having lightning detection in parks for our city than it did positive. So anything that we do is very scrutinized today. So there's a huge risk on how the new police chief is going to mitigate the negative public perception. I feel that he can do that best.
Okay. And my last one is, what qualities in this recommendation give you confidence the department will remain stable through potential leadership transitions?
I believe that his experience with the retention and recruitment, he has some great recruitment ideas, some great retention ideas, but the fact that he groomed 3 people to become a police chief shows that he wants his officers to grow, his officers to, even if they leave here and they go advance their career, that's what he cares about. And I believe that that's what he can be best for our officers to do. We have a lot of young ones that have a lot of time left in their career. And if they can work under that, maybe he can even groom the next chief here when he retires from it.
Okay. And I think that's all the questions I had.
All right. Any other questions for discussion?
I do. One of my first questions is, the phone's been ringing off the hook. How did we come to this person? How did we come to the top 3 and all of that? We all know we have a problem in Lynn Haven. There's corruption in Lynn Haven. Who knows best about the corruption in Lynn Haven than somebody that's from here? Somebody who knows the players. I wonder, somebody coming in, and I had a great interview with him, by the way. I think they all interviewed quite well. They kind of buzzed right across the board for me, all very much the same. And it's certainly no disrespect to Mr. Blanchard at all. But we had 4 people with more experience and more education right here in Bay County that worked in law enforcement that didn't even get a phone call. So I have to ask that, how does that happen? But I personally, and I'll just get to the chase, I personally feel that the appointment or approval of a new police chief before we get the final applications for the city manager is premature. I think it should wait until after the city manager is appointed. And we know, I think, Jennifer, is it January 6th? The applications are due in 8th, okay. So we have until January 8th. Mr. Infingers keeping the ship awry. I mean, it's floating, we're not drowning.
So I would start by saying I'm sorry that you feel the way of corruption in Zinglin Haven. I do not feel we have a single police officer in our agency that's corrupt. I don't feel that we have a single employee that's corrupt. So I'm sorry you feel that there is corruption in the city. I do not feel that way.
Right.
We had 43 applicants. We narrowed that down to 11 via phone interviews. Those 11 were then conducted. No, not all of them were called.
Right.
There were some on there that they might have had been a PhD candidate or might have been higher education, but their experience was not up to par with the others. There is a candidate on there that I believe he is a PhD candidate. He is nowhere near experienced as Mr. Blanchard or the other two chief candidates that we had for finals. We had those 11 in person virtually. We had myself, Chief Smith from Panama City, and Ms. Hodges. We interviewed those 11. We narrowed that down to 3 applicants. Those all came in person, and you got to meet all of those.
Mhm. And why didn't you pick or at least call back anybody local?
We had local people interview.
You did. Well, like the police chief of Springfield, he didn't receive a call back.
No,
There were
ma'am. I did not feel that he was as qualified as some of the others that did.
Okay. Thank you.
I say something. I I feel the opposite as far as waiting. I think I'm really reluctant to say this, and I'll premise it with this because I know police officers and then are going to watch this. I want them to know that I have confidence in them, and I know we have a good police department. But you probably agree after the last firing that there's concerns about what type of culture was set in the police department. And this is no, like I said, there's no disrespect to anybody in there, but, and I've experienced this when I was in the military, and I've seen it in the military, where you have to fill in for a position temporarily until they get the permanent person. And what happens is that person gets in there and they're able to sustain daily administrative operations, right? Administration and operations. But what happens is they get put in a holding pattern, and it's like the permanent changes that they want to make, the certain standards, long-term standards they want to set, they're very reluctant to do that because they know another person's coming in, because the last thing they want to do is change something, and then another person comes in and has a different perspective, different leadership management style, and they want to change it a different way. And that's not good for a department, especially a police department.
Mhm.
And so that's why I think it's imperative that we get someone in there so they can get in there and put in those long-term solutions and cultural changes that we need.
And then what happens though if the interim city manager isn't Chris? Then the police chief has a new boss.
Well, that happened with our fire chief.
I'm sorry?
That happened with our fire chief. He just started, and we had a new city manager. So I mean, it's the way the cookie crumbles.
I'd like to also go back to, talking about local candidates. Ms. Tender, your words were, I want someone that can't even spell Lynn Haven because they've never been here. And so all 3 finalists were from out of town. I feel that has been a key aspect of what people wanted, of something from the outside or someone from the outside. So now all of a sudden we're reversing our thoughts on that. And not that that's what was playing into a decision. However, it just worked out where the 3 finalists were from outside the city. Your words were, I want a candidate that's never been here.
And they all interviewed very well.
I agree
They
with
did.
that 100%.
They all interviewed very well. It was right across the board, all the way. And I don't have a problem with that. It's not against Mr. Blanchard. You say he's a man of great integrity. If he's got great integrity, then he will set policies and he will set things to make things
Mr. Blanchard has
change
also,
from Mr. Ramey.
he's been watching the meeting tonight.
Mhm.
He's been giving his input as well on the flock cameras, for example. He's very knowledgeable about flock. I think some of you probably talked to him about that during your one-on-ones.
Did. Mhm.
So the news got out. I think you were all copied on the email from the reporter from Richmond County last night. Richmond County News, I don't know what their channel is, WCEY or something like that. They posted the story that Mr. Blanchard was the finalist here and it was set to be approved tonight. There were over 800 reactions when I went to bed last night, and comment after comment of congratulations, of he's going to do great things. Lynn Haven's going to be lucky to have him. There was not one negative comment on that Facebook post, which to me speaks for his integrity of what he is and who he has been in law enforcement.
Well, like you say, if he's got that kind of integrity, he will make the changes that need to be made. And by the way, when I say corruption, I don't mean that our police officers are corrupt. I don't mean that the people who work here are corrupt. But we have corruption in Bay County, and we have plenty of it in Lynn Haven. And that's what I'm talking about.
I understand, but when employees watch our meetings and they hear our elected officials who are supposed to support us say that there's corruption in the city, it does not sit well with them. They come to work every day. Police officers work 12 hours. Some of them are working 16s right now because they're shorthanded. So when they sit here and hear corruption, it does not sit well with them.
I understand that, but I'm going to tell you this. I have calls from employees. I have employees who come to the cafe that want to meet in person telling me those exact things. So, I mean, the truth is something that kind of blows in the wind. It depends on who you're talking to. But I just wanted to say that. It's nothing against Mr. Blanchard. I would support him completely and hope that he is a man of integrity and he makes the changes that would need to be made.
All right. Anything for advice and consent?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Ward, for asking all those questions because those were good. And then the main question I had was if you could lay out step by step what you did, and you did. But I think one thing that really stuck out to me is that, one, before he even knew he was a finalist, he came down here and scouted the area, just to get an idea of what, on his own dime, came down here to check out Lynn Haven to see what it was all about. He was walking around at our Winter Wonderland event, didn't tell anybody that he was a finalist, just wanted to, meet people and see what Lynn Haven was all about. I thought that was pretty awesome. And one thing that really stuck out to me is that I asked him what experience he has writing law enforcement policies. He's helped multiple organizations get accredited, but one of the things that he added too is that he also is very big on in that process looking for ways to get grants, because as we all know, I think Mr. Hines is the one that says this all the time, so he's not here tonight, so I can't give him credit face to face, but he always talks about how cities are run on grants, and that's true. I want to say something like 15% of our budget is from tax dollars. Everything else is through grants or some other type of funding.
And Commissioner, the next morning after he left, when he was sitting in the airport, he emailed Ms. Hodges and I about a grant that he had found so that we could turn over to River so that she could submit for. So he is very well versed on grants and what they can do to your department.
Great. Thank you. And one thing that also stuck out to me in my interview is that he's very big on to be transparent. You don't wait for someone to question anything. You put the story out there first. You just let people know what's happening so that there's no signs of corruption or signs of hiding anything. He's very big on putting the story out up front and then let people ask questions about it rather than make it look like you're hiding something, which is a big deal to me. But yeah, like you said, all three candidates are so solid. I mean, it was really impressive.
Commissioner Perno.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, sir.
Well, let's make the motion I'd like to approve Lewis Blanchard, and let's move forward in the hiring process.
Is there a second for that?
Second it.
All right, comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. I wanted to take a chance to address two things. One is the hiring process, and two are some comments that were made by you, Ms. Tender. I've never seen you with a badge on, a police badge. You're not a police officer, right? Okay, I didn't think so. One thing that I appreciated was, number one, this all was very clear as to how this process was going to happen. There was going to be a panel of qualified individuals who were going to aid the city manager in narrowing down the candidates, et cetera, to determine the qualifications and proficiency specifically. And that happened. Obviously, there were some things that were looked at from the personnel side of the house, it sounds like, to make sure that this individual is the right candidate. So I just want to say thank you for not making this decision in a vacuum. You could have just said, nope, this is my guy or this is my gal, and that didn't happen. So I appreciate the fact that there was not only a panel, but a panel of qualified individuals who also provided that advice, although they can't provide that consent. I too saw a Facebook post. I think it was some local news station where this individual is from, and it was just positive comment after comment after comment. And I'm like, man, well, looks like they made the right decision. So, if anything, I think that kind of gives us a little bit of satisfaction of, the process worked. The fact of, should it happen now or should we wait until this person or that person? I've heard this. I've seen this come up, and it's not just about the police chief. It's about, this legislation or that legislation. We should wait until the recall election is over with. We should wait until this is over with. My response to that is this. Commissioner Perno is going to term out. He's not running again. He's done. He's a lame duck commissioner, okay? So if that's the case, then he should not be able to vote on anything, right? We should wait till his replacement gets elected, okay? So that's the line of thinking that we've got to do. Look, the city's business has got to go on, okay? And I got 30 seconds left. I just want to address those comments, Ms. Tender. I'm a fan of yours, and we agree on a lot of things. And I want to respectfully disagree with you on the fact that this local versus not local. I've heard it time and time again. We've got to hire outside of Lynn Haven. We got to get outside of Bay County. We got to get outside the state of Florida if we can, right? And what did we do? We got a cat from Georgia coming down. Now we want to hire local. That's frustrating. Let's pick which way we want to go. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Brief. I have family, including my father-in-law, sister-in-law, a niece and a nephew up in Augusta, Georgia. And I've reviewed the qualifications of all three of the finalists. I've actually spoken to three of the commissioners personally and asked for their impressions and feedback on the interviews. I actually asked my own family what they thought of Mr. Blanchard. They love the guy. Father-in-law knew him, my sister-in-law. They all spoke highly, highly of him. He's got a reputation up there of being a guy of the community. Being involved, getting out there and not just lip service, but actually shoe leather express, shaking hands, engaged with the community. You guys and ladies all know the dynamics of the police force right now. Short-staffed, we need to look at the pay scales and make sure that we are compensating appropriately. The deputy chief here, Steve Infinger, is a great guy. He's a great leader, but he needs a wingman. I really do believe Mr. Blanchard is the right person for the job. I fully support him. I hope you, lady and gentlemen, do tonight as well. And I hope he gets in and is able to really step in and hit the ground running. We could use a fresh breath of air and leadership. I think he and Steve Infinger will be a very good tag team. Thank you for your consideration.
All right. Yes, ma'am. and then Mr. Walker. Okay. Thank you.
So in the state of Florida, I assume you have to have certain certifications. Does he have those certifications?
So his first day, February 9th, he will actually be at Gulf Coast doing his transition course.
Okay. You know, I guess the thing is, again, you wanted this public meeting on the 30th, second meeting of the month. It would have been nice. I kind of expected Mr. Blanchard to be here. So the citizens and taxpayers could ask him questions. I mean, why would that not be appropriate?
Would you like for me to answer now, or when you get?
You're the interim city manager.
I
You
don't
can
want to take up your time.
answer whenever you want to.
So all three candidates that came down gave kudos, and that kudos is to Ms. Hodges on how the interview process was set up. They all three had been through other application processes before. That this process was one of the smoothest and well thought out that they had done. They enjoyed being able to go before the department heads, the panel of city manager.
Hey, I'm
and
going to stop you for a second here. They're interviewing, so of course they're going to say nice things. That's what interviewees do. I still think that you may feel like the process was well defined, but the fact that you've hired somebody that doesn't have his certification and he's not here at a public meeting, so I guess that's a little concerning.
He will have plenty of public outreach meetings whenever he gets here. We will.
Hey,
Mr. Walker?
I don't know why this is in a rush to judgment now. Come January 20th, you're going to be changing possibly your government very heavily. You're presently missing a city manager, 2 directors, a chief of police. Chief of police, when I had a discussion with him in front of the city manager, he told me he is really, my words, not here to serve and protect the citizens. He was here to protect the city manager and vice versa. And it was demonstrated how well she protected him. It took you quite a while to read through. You didn't fire him. You allowed him to retire. That's an easy way out. You allowed the previous city manager to do the same thing. You didn't fire him. He resigned. I don't understand with what's coming up January 20th, with a possible change of government, that the number 3 man in the government is going to be appointed now when he gets a new boss. If they don't get along, is it going to take him 7 years or her to not get rid of, but let go of this choice tonight? I think you might take a look at waiting. You've waited long enough until you get possibly a new mayor, possibly, no disrespect, and get a new city manager, a firm city manager. Seems to be a rush, especially tonight, because we were not supposed to be here tonight. Commissioners voted not to have a second meeting. All of a sudden, out of the woodworks comes a special meeting. The 2 items on it are critical to our government. I would think twice about this. Oh, yes, my question was also, man is not certified in the state of Florida. Is that correct? He's not a resident of the state of Florida, right? Okay. Presently, has he read the city employment and the salary and everything, and he's agreeing to this?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What you started the conversation with was that you said you, Mr. Ramey, Chief Ramey, and
City
Chris
manager.
were
At
all
the time.
together, and he said,
Pardon?
"Oh, he said Miss Gaynor." Okay. Oh, okay. No, I thought you were talking about something else, and I wanted to make sure I heard you
That was quite
right.
an earful.
Thank you.
And she purposely came over to listen to the conversation I was having with the chief. That was the result of it. I didn't like that.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bearclaw.
Good evening again, Naylor Bearclaw. So we're going to pick a police chief. 5 elements of the First Amendment. 5 elements. Big question. That was probably my first question if I was interviewing anybody in law enforcement or anybody that was going to enforce the law. 5 elements. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, petition for grievances to your government, right? Freedom of assembly, right? Oh, the other one, big one's freedom of press. So those big 5 things. Now I'm going to lay some compliments. I had 2 officers. My little YouTube channel, which is just starting because I'm finally taking all my videos that I've been building up. I'm going to post them. I'll send you the link. You can share with everybody when I get them up. I was over at the child support office and they were like, "Oh no, you can't video record." Oh no. I was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "I'm not going to stop." And they're like, "Our policy says you can audio." I was like, "That sounds like wiretapping. Sounds like a setup." Cops came out and they literally told him and said, "You're messing up." Told the manager of the building, "You're going to hand this guy a multi-million-dollar lawsuit." Got it on video. I was like, these guys are great. They wanted me out trespassing. He said, "You can't trespass them." So at least those officers got it right. So whatever you're building on a foundation of, at least you got 2 guys, right, that have got it straight. And those 2 guys, when I post the video and you see their names, those are the 2 guys you probably need to go ahead and be like, they need to be doing the job out here of training your other officers. And new guy, I don't know. We will find out how he feels about people with cameras, how he deals with the freedom of speech, how he'll deal with people being in here and say anybody goes, "Well, you're out of line. You can't be in here anymore." And he sits there and says, "Absolutely not. I will not allow you to do that." That's what's going to determine what kind of person he really is. He suspended himself. That's great. Anybody can do that. But let's really see if he's really going to sit there and stand on that Constitution, stand on that oath. I've got all the books at home with all my everything from the federal level to what requires state level employees to do and bear an oath to. And therefore, if you don't do that, by the way, that's treasonous. And you want to know one other thing, there was that saying, politics stink. You know why they said politics stink? That's because we used to put them hanging in trees or put them in the stockade in the middle of the city for everybody to look and go, "This is what we did." Or they would drag them out and tar and feather them. I mean, and that was back when they said, "Oh, these were civilized times. Oh, we're civilized society." That was civilized back then. So I'm just pointing that out, that there are elements to the Constitution that everybody needs to remember when he steps into the door. I promise you, if I ever meet the man, which I will, I'm going to ask him the first 5 elements of the first part of the Constitution. And I'm going to see where he stands at right there and then. And I'm going to do that with video, and I'm going to put it all out there. So, and by the way, I work with a group of people that we go ahead and find out the history of these guys. And if they're bad, we're going to put them out there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Commission. Zach Detweiler. So I've managed personnel for 15 years now. I mean, I probably have managed anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people at this point. I've trained managers. I've trained leaders. I've watched transitions go through at least probably 100 projects. And I can tell you, Commissioner Warwick was right when he said that in a vacuum, you will have chaos. For a long time, I think the police department needed direction. I don't think it got it with the last police chief. I can also say that, I've worked in Augusta, Georgia on projects. I've worked with the PD up there. I've worked with Richmond County. They do not have an easy job. There is a wealth disparagence up there that causes more crime than we could imagine down here. They are right on a state border. You can take a bridge and go into South Carolina and disappear. There's a lot that goes on there. So that job is no easy task. So certainly someone who has worked in that environment has the fortitude to be able to understand our complications down here. What I would like to see in a leader, and I do through this process wish that we had at least gotten video recordings of your interviews. I would have loved to have seen them. I would have loved to have seen as somebody who drives through Lynn Haven every day, how are certain things going to be handled? I would have myself loved to have submitted questions to get answered by each of the interviewees. There's a number of things I think we could have done to have been transparent, as we say we all want. But at this point, we are selecting an individual. I don't know everything about his background, but certainly I've talked to several people, and I don't think that he's going to do a bad job for us. I hope he gets in, and I hope he does the right thing. I did want to touch on something that Ms. Tinder said, and the interim city manager, Mr. Lightfoot, said. We had a finance director that submitted FBI testimony that stated that there was employee intimidation, that stated that checks were falsely signed by the former city manager, that stated that there were funds misplaced, that stated all these things. And as we know, the former mayor here was convicted of a felony for lying to the FBI, yet this individual was never even questioned on whether or not she was telling the truth. So to say that there wasn't corruption inside this building is false. So not to all the regular employees here, they're fantastic. I have talked to so many of them, and they are great people looking for solid leadership. But I do hope that this gentleman comes in and he is ready to get his hands dirty with everything that has happened since Michael, because it's not over, and it shouldn't be.
Yes, ma'am.
Harry Parker, Rhett Place. Chris, I'm going to have to correct you, and this was sent to every one of you. Blanchard sheds light on 53K missing from SAFE and why he's running for sheriff. This was in March of 2026. I have to correct you on that.
He's not under investigation. It was not he that was under investigation. He was the one that was part of the investigation on the sheriff.
Right, I understand that. However, his dialogue and his comments in here are very telling. Very telling. With that being said, the one thing I want to state too, corruption. The corruption from IT. Guys, he stole from the city. And y'all just let him bring it back? That is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. I'm sorry. There has to be accountability in this city. And it has to happen soon, because this is just going on forever. Yes, do we need another police chief? Yes. But personally, in my opinion, I think we should wait until after the recall election. That is my opinion. Thank you.
Can I answer the IT thing? So I'm trying to remember when the whole thing happened, you guys did an investigation and you sent it up to Larry Bassford. Larry Bassford determined not to prosecute, correct?
Correct. So
we can't, there's nothing else we can do. We did everything we were supposed to do. We sent it up and the state attorney decided not to prosecute. What else can we do?
I understand that, Jamie. However, it's still corruption. It's still theft from the city. And even though Larry Besford decided not to prosecute, it was still corruption within the city, regardless of whether Larry Besford said, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, that was his decision, but his decision wasn't a good decision.
Right, but you were saying we need to do something. We did everything we could. We can't, there's nothing else we can do.
No, I'm not saying that y'all had to do something about it. I'm just saying that he made the wrong decision, and that was corruption within the city. I'm not saying y'all had to do something about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm just wondering about the process here, and I'm not an expert on this, but if I look at this as an example of what happened in the last city commission meeting, where you all voted 4-1 on Flock, and it didn't seem like any of you knew really what Flock was. I may be wrong. Like there in that situation, it was missing like a meeting where you say, hey, let's talk about the good things about Flock. Let's talk about how Flock's helped. Let's talk about how bad this sucks. And hey, what about the Fourth Amendment? Has there been a meeting where you guys have gotten together and each of you said, hey, man, these three guys are awesome, but we have some big questions about this or that or the other thing that the public can actually go to and express their ideas as well? It seems like this shouldn't be the first time we're hearing from you what you think about this, about the candidates. And maybe there's been something, but I've noticed a trend where it's kind of like, we're voting on this and you're saying what it is, but it's not, we don't know what the story is. We don't know what the story hasn't been explained. So I just wonder if I'm missing something or if you guys have actually met with this and talked about each candidate.
So, Mayor, I'm pretty sure the story's been explained about the past 5 commission meetings. At some point, a commissioner or a resident has asked, what's the process? We've explained the 43 applicants to 11 to 3 to in-person interviews to one-on-ones. So I feel that we have shared the story numerous times.
I know this process. I know that. I know the process. I don't know how each of you feels about what was good about candidate A. What was the worst thing about candidate A? What was the best thing and the worst about candidate B? What potential does A have? Where's the critical thinking that the public's able to see, other than, yeah, we kind of like this guy. Yeah, he was the best of the 3. Yeah, we had a vetting process. I want to know the story of what the meeting was like, and if there was one, about like, surely of 5 people, there was someone who came up and said, hey, not this guy. Or maybe there was someone from the public who could have been at that meeting and said, yeah, you guys are right. This is, that's missing. That critical thought process, I believe, is missing, and I would like to see that. Thank you.
Let me just say this if I could. Remember, I went over the whole process about advice and consent. Remember that? I went in November, step by step. And we just approved it tonight also, step by step, what's advice and consent. Because it's not up to us to select the police chief. City manager selects the police chief. We do advice and consent. And in the end, do we have confidence that this person will do an excellent job for our city? So that's our job.
Yeah. Well, so is the only advice and consent that happens in this meeting, or is there something that's more robust that could happen so that we know? Because like, you should be telling us, yeah, we like this guy, but man, we're kind of worried about this 53,000. There's nothing.
We don't select them.
I'm not asking you to select them. I'm asking you to research it and to critically think about it and to let us know what you think.
So yeah, I think when I look at Chief Blanchard's record, he has a phenomenal record. If you look at the experience, the knowledge, I mean, we are extremely lucky to have somebody that has this much knowledge and experience. And I feel very lucky to get somebody like this. Like I'll ask, one of the questions I asked him, I said, my one concern with you is you're coming from a very big, vast department with a huge budget, much more bigger than ours. I think his was over $80 million budget. How is your leadership management style going to be when you come here? Because you're going to have to change your leadership management style a little bit. And his answer was, I oversee over 700 police officers. And he goes, I try to get to know as many of them as I possibly can. But in the end, I get to know the best police officers and then the ones towards the bottom. And I don't typically get to know the ones in between because there's just so many of them. He said, I'm looking forward to coming to a smaller police department so I can sit down one-on-one with police officers and mentor and guide them. And I'm here to tell you, he doesn't need this job. He does this because he's passionate about what he does. And that's the impression I got from him. He's awesome. My confidence level is up here that he's going to do an awesome job for the city.
I believe that could be true with him, but I don't know him. But I think that it would be nice, and it would be very educational for the public. You had a meeting, and you may feel that way. Pat may not feel that way. He may like Montana guy or South Carolina guy for better than this. And I would like to hear that discussion. That's all that I'm saying.
May I say something?
Yes.
I just want to say, when interviewing the guy from Montana, he had a great sense of humor, and I always appreciate that. But he said, you can't live in Montana real long if you're a people person. And he also said right up front in my interview with him that when he started there, he gave them a 2-year limit. He said, I'm here to straighten this department out in 2 years, and then I'm gone. And he has family all over Texas and everywhere. So he said, you can't be a people person and live in Montana. For me, they all interview very much the same. I do have to say, well, obviously I've already aired my concerns about Chief Blanchard. I will give him my full support, even if I don't vote for him, but he'll have my full support. And I hope that he is everything that those who like him, I hope he is everything that they say.
And to Mr. Switzer's point, what you're asking probably has not been documented or recorded to be made public, but we all did have a chance to follow up with Mr. Lightfoot and give our input, ask various questions, of course, meeting with the candidates, but then also, I know post-interview, I was able to speak with him and Ms. Hodges and just share, what my concerns were, what I thought their concerns might be. Hey, what are your concerns about this candidate? Here's my input. This is what I think. And so we did have those conversations and ask, additional questions from what we saw on the resume or what we maybe didn't get from the candidate that we thought they might have had information about. So no, it wasn't recorded, it wasn't taken down in notes per se, but those conversations did happen at least between ourselves and the staff. So those did happen. Yes, sir.
James Finch, 410 East 2nd Street. You need to get on about hiring your guy tonight. It took y'all 3.5 years to fire the last one. This whole community come up here week after week and after 3.5 years, and we're here tonight because y'all didn't do your damn job. We need to hold you responsible. You told us you're going to hire somebody. You told us how you was going to interview them. Y'all selected them. Get on with the hiring them. We're going to hold you responsible. If he's wrong, we're going to jump on you the first meeting. And that's where it should be. You know what I'm talking about? This whole deal is get on with taking the man in here because it damn sure can't be any worse than what we had. And we fought tooth and nail to get that last one gone. And we spent thousands of dollars for them to tell y'all that y'all could fire him after what he did. And a lot of that was you there. You took up for him tooth and nail through the whole deal. You and the city manager. Mr. Walker told me, he says, the last two city managers resigned. Is that what he said? Because I thought I was here when they fired Vicki Gaynor. They fired Vicki Gaynor, and then you voted against firing Vicki Gaynor, which give her 10 weeks additional pay by you voting that way. So when you give these contracts, don't give them contractors out like, hell, y'all getting about like hiring a football coach. When I worked with somebody all those years, if I did a good job, that today I could come back tomorrow. So you get them and let the man perform, do his job. But y'all sitting here tonight, it's like an 8th grader trying to find out who's going to be the prom queen. I mean, we need to get on with it. Do something, do your job. Because I don't know how y'all still here after this last deal between Ramey and Vicki and you, Mayor. You hired another attorney, you fighting the recall. We had about 6,000 signers, 40-something hundred this last time. We lost 1,800. You filed another motion today, and that's fine. But the 20th, we're going to have an election, I think. And we don't need to, it don't matter about the election on the 20th. It's what y'all going to do tonight. Do your job, get it over here. We've been here 3 hours, and y'all have done 45 minutes worth of work. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot to unpack here after listening to all these people. First, if you don't do something now, you're going to be directionless. And the worst thing you can do to an organization is give them somebody that's temporary and say, y'all just hang around for another 6 months while we decide what we're going to do. That's the worst thing you can do. I'm sure that Mr. Lightfoot's struggling with that somewhat with the city department heads right now because he's interim. And this is the same thing with the police chief. You want to delay it to the recall? Well, now, I don't think the recall should happen. I'm very for Mayor Nelson. I don't think the recall has valid grounds. But should the recall happen, the only other person that can be elected just said that he wholeheartedly is behind hiring this particular person as police chief. So waiting until the recall will accomplish zero. Now, the process, y'all went through the process. Every citizen out here shouldn't feel like they need to interview the prospective police chief. That's not the process. We voted y'all in. We put our full faith and confidence in you. And y'all don't all agree, which is great. It means that you're looking at it from different directions. The process works. I trust that the group of y'all have looked at it, y'all have interviewed him, and you're going to come to a decision on whether to hire him or not. And I'm going to trust that process. I don't agree with all of you, but I don't have to. That's the process, and I think y'all are going to represent the citizens well in this. Now, that said, the last thing I want to say is to you, Commissioner Tender, I'm tired of these blanket, there's corruption statements. If there's corruption and people are coming to you with corruption, it's your ability, your job, your duty to take it up and take care of it. Go up the ladder to whoever you need to do to solve this corruption. Don't make vague corruption accusations. I would like to hear specifics. If there's corruption that you're aware of, deal with it. Don't come up and just say, oh, the people out here are corrupt. Oh, well, these are corrupt. I'm tired of that. I am tired of these vague things saying, oh, there's corruption everywhere. Prove it. Go to the state attorneys, like somebody says here. They decided they're more qualified than the state attorney to decide what corruption is. That's not accurate. The state attorney, that's his job. That's what he's there for. If he says there's not corruption, then there's probably not corruption. But I'm tired of these vague corruption accusations. It smears the citizens of Lynn Haven. It smears the employees of Lynn Haven. And you, as our elected official, should be advocating for us. And if they're coming to you, employees or whoever, and saying, oh, well, this is corrupt, you need to take it up the ladder. And don't just stop. You need to take it up and advocate for them. Just saying something, oh, there's corruption, that solves nothing, but just gives everybody a black eye. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, sir.
I think y'all are have kids up here. I think everybody has kids, so you'll get this analogy. When your kid wants something in the store or at home, dessert before dinner or whatever, and you tell them no, it's the end of the world for them, right? You didn't get them what they wanted. That's all they're going to remember for however long they're going to remember that. Kids, usually it's not long. But I think that's kind of what goes on in this community. A lot of members of the community, if they don't get what they want, they're pretty pissed off about it. I've been there. That's been me. I advocate for stuff I want, and if I don't get it, I get pissed off. Normal. It's part of being a human. But if you do the research, if you spent the time looking up Louis Blanchard, there's tons of articles out there. If you read through the article that talks about this money in the safe, like, I don't know what the reading comprehension in Bay County is. I've never looked up that stat, but I read the damn article 4 times in a row, sitting back there listening to people talk. And I can't see it any other way than what it is. The previous sheriff had some money and they turned it over to the county. And for the whole time that he was the deputy chief, for 4 years, I think it said, the money wasn't in the safe. He checked the safe. That was part of his responsibility. And then all of a sudden, when these allegations come forth, he says that it was never in there. There is not a candidate that I think that you interviewed or you guys all interviewed that is more of an opposite of what just left than this guy. I get it. We're all battered here. We're all disappointed in what's gone on here. I've lived here 5.5 years. I'm an outsider. I'm not from Bay County. Everybody knows that. I know what this guy's walking into. He's got a hell of a job ahead of him. But I have faith in these commissioners and the mayor even to put advice and consent in the ear of the interim city manager to make the best choice possible. And I don't see how everything that's being said here is you're not even giving the guy a chance. Let him come in and show what he can do for our community, because you sit here every meeting and complain over and over about transparency and wanting a better community and wanting everything out in the open. And we want this and we want that. I want. Well, now you're getting what you want. You're getting an outsider who's all about transparency. He's a public information officer. He will not lie or cheat or whatever for anybody. He said that. Those are his own words from articles you can look up. And it's still not good enough because you didn't give me the damn cookie out of the cookie jar. That's what our community is about right now. And it's disappointing. It's just disappointing. Just give the guy a chance. Make the decision, hire him, bring him in. I hope he's the best police chief we'll ever have.
Additional comments?
We've had, it goes without saying, for the last 8 years, a lot of chaos in this community, and we are all wanting to move forward. And I think that at this point, we are moving forward at a good pace. I feel so much better about our government. And we've had trying to fill a leadership deficit that we've had, a very serious leadership deficit at the top of this organization, the city. And we hired an interim city manager to do his job. He's done it. I think this, from everything I've heard about Mr. Blanchard, he is far more qualified than any police chief we've ever had. As far as licensing, I don't know about what the license is looking for, but nursing, we've eventually got where my nursing license is good in any of the 50 states, but maybe this license isn't. He has to take it in each state, most likely, and he would not take it in this state until he thought he might have a job in this state. So that would be my opinion, and I think I like everything I heard about him, his 30, 60, 90-day program, that he's a mentor, and that he speaks so probably a whole lot better than I do. Thank you.
Additional public commentary.
Jeff Snyder, 309 Virginia. This horse is well and truly dead. But I do want to say just a couple of things. It feels as though we have a break in trust And I think that that comes from well-intentioned people that want what's best. And I, for one, want to publicly state that I support each and every one of you in this decision process because I feel like you have done your jobs to the best of your abilities. I also want to publicly state that I support Interim City Manager Chris Lightfoot because he conducted a very thorough search. He opened the application up to any and all comers. There were 43 applicants. It was winnowed down. And the other thing that, and I know Mr. Scray mentioned children, as parents here, you know, there's a common phrase that we need to wait until we're ready to have kids. And if you wait until you're ready to have children, you'll never have children because you'll never be ready. If we wait any longer, then Mr. Blanchard would have, it would be completely within his purview and prerogative to say, no, thank you, I no longer want the job. And when you have a candidate that is as stellar as Mr. Blanchard with some 30 years plus experience in law enforcement, when he comes across your doorstep, I don't believe that it is prudent or responsible to turn around and say, would you mind waiting a month? When, as it also has been accurately stated by Mr. Beshears, however the recall election goes, it would appear that both, whether Mayor Nelson remains in his seat or Mr. Lowry becomes the mayor, both candidates support Mr. Blanchard. I'll sum it up with this. I think that what we can do now as a city is move on, get back to being the best city in Bay County because that's what we are. I hope and pray that we will be focused on the future ahead of us, not what is behind us. Because what's behind us is bad. We all know that. We need to move forward. We need to move forward. We need to focus on getting the city back on track, becoming, as I said during my campaign, the crown jewel of Bay County, because that's what I believe it is. I believe this is the best city. There's a reason that people want to live here. At 18 seconds, one other thing. I watched the Facebook comments too. There were 700 reactions, close to 200 comments. I counted 4 that were even mildly negative in nature. So if we're gaining somebody that they don't want to lose, that's a good thing. Thank you.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Absolutely.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. All right, discussion and possible approval of resolution 2025-12503, approving submittal of a state revolving fund loan application for point source water solution control.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, approving the submittal of a state revolving fund loan application for point source water pollution control, pledging sewer enterprise funds for repayment of the loan, and designating Chris Lightfoot as the city's authorized representative. Mayor, this is another reason we had to have the meeting tonight. This application, I've already gotten an extension on it. We need to get it submitted as soon as possible. We talked about it in our December 12th workshop for the headworks and the influent pump station at the sewer treatment plant. We did get authorized for just under $13.3 million to construct the headworks and the influent pump station. This is not committing us to the money. This is just the resolution that we need to continue our paperwork and application process.
And I guess one of the questions citizens have asked, and just asking this for public clarification, is that if we do move forward at some point and receive this loan, that this will be paid back through enterprise funds and not funds from the general budget, which would then affect millage rate.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Yeah.
And also, we were shooting to have our rate study agreements with Bay County on this meeting. Due to the holidays, didn't quite work out, so that will be on the January 9th meeting to do the rate studies, but it all will coincide together.
All right. Additional questions for Mr. Lightfoot? All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, comments from the public?
I just saw in there something about an engineer, so it wasn't.
So on the project for the Headworks and Influent Pump Station, it's a team effort between Mott McDonald and Panhandle Engineering. It was designed back in 2021.
Way to change that?
No, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
In accordance with the state's regulations on SRF, it says that you say that we're going to pay off 3 already debts that we incurred. We have to pay those off first? Okay.
No, so you don't have to pay them off prior to this. No, sir.
Okay, to get that one. That's what it said in the book, so. Is this going to be a loan? And you mentioned it's going to be in the enterprise funds, which is a business, okay? You make money for that. So it takes it out of the sewer budget, which you said, which was good. That answered one of my questions. But this loan, which it incurs, comes under the debt that we're going to owe. So we're going to have a $13 million debt added to what we already have going into the 5-year program that the finance company said we would not incur any debts.
That's what the new rate study will show. The new rate study will take into effect the $13 million needed for this, as well as the different scenarios of expanding the wastewater treatment plant with the additional $50 million to expand the current one, or if we go to the county or whatever the future plans are, the rate study will take into effect or into account all of this.
And which revolves around the sewer problem. Okay. Just wanted to make it sure that we're incurring another debt.
May I? The Finance Review Committee has reviewed the project. We've discussed several times if we will be rehabbing the existing sewer plant or if we will be partnering with the county and moving to the other county facility. They are fully aware of this. I've discussed with them the potential costs involved. We have not specifically spoken about this SRF loan. We don't know that it will go through. This is just an application process for the Headworks portion. The Headworks needs to be done whether we stay or whether we partner with the county. So this is something that the city will have to do eventually.
Keep in mind too, you will all get another resolution to accept the funding once the application is approved, if it is approved, as well as you will get the decision to what do we do with the future of the wastewater treatment plant.
And I know one of the conversations we had was, is this something we can hold off until if the sewer plant goes down the county? But you have to do this regardless because you're still going to use most of this stuff anyway.
Keep in mind too, we are under the consent order that requires us to construct this.
Yes. Commissioner Tender.
Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to make a statement. Number one, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate everybody who came. Corey, you too. Mr. Bashir, you too. Sometime I'd love to have a conversation with you privately. And that is because I'm going to honor any employee's feedback. But anyway, to end on a good note, we hired the police chief. I just got a text that my daughter got engaged in Savannah. So it's a good night.
All right. Any other public comments? Call the roll.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Agenda item number 15. State audit.
Yep. So, Commissioner Tender, I know you brought this up before that you were wanting an audit done.
Yes.
So I did my due diligence and I sat down. One of the people I sat down with was State Senator Trumbull. And one of the conversations we had was about the state audit. And then I think I brought this up before, but if we request an audit directly from the state audit agency, we have to pay for it. But if one of our state representatives request it, then we don't have to pay for it. So I reached out to Senator Trumbull, asking if he would be willing to request it. He said he was willing to request it, but he wanted a formal request from the commission. So,
Well, I'm a huge supporter of an audit. I've said it all along. We need an audit. So I would definitely consent to that.
but I think you need direction, city attorney. I think you need direction as far as what we want the scope to be of it. And this is what I brought up, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, but and I know Kiki did an awesome presentation about how we went from $5.2 million to $18 million in disaster recovery bond. And I still have concerns with some of those things about, whether policy and procedures were followed. And I know since then, we have found things where they were supposed to come to us and they did not come to us, which I appreciate the city finding those things and trying to dig in and inspect those things. But it gives me a little bit concern of, are we missing more things? So that was kind of some of the things I was looking at, maybe looking back, if they're willing to look back from FY fiscal year 21 to 25 and making sure we're following the policy and procedures that should have been followed.
Now, in regards to following policy and procedure, are you referring to all of the budget or just particular parts of the finances? Like you mentioned disaster recovery, are you just referring to that? Or are you referring to the department heads and supervisors and everyone?
It's no one particular. I just in general.
No, that's what I'm saying. So when you're saying following the policies and procedure for the entire finances of the city, that's what I'm asking.
Right. Yes.
Okay. All right. So we need to draft like a resolution for that.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would think he need a letter, but I'm not sure.
So, is everyone, just make a motion.
Mayor, instead of a motion, and I'll defer to Ms. Myers, but prior to the next meeting, if she and I can just meet with Senator Trumbull or Representative Griffiths, and we'll kind of get a better understanding from their office of what exactly we're after, because I'm not sure either. This is all new on requesting a state audit. But prior to voting on anything, unless you think we need to, let's sit down with them. And
I've already reached out to Senator Trumbull's office to get answers to my questions about exactly what they need from us to initiate this process, what that request looks like, whether it's minutes and a really well-crafted motion or if it needs to be a resolution. I don't have the answer. I'd love the opportunity to get the answer. But in the absence of having the answer, if y'all are prepared to make a fairly specific motion, we can probably work with that too. So up to y'all.
All right. So I'll make a motion to audit from fiscal year 2021 to 2025 to see, audit our financials to make sure city policy and procedures were followed.
This is all finances and not just Hurricane Michael.
Correct.
I'd second that.
All right, there's a motion and second. Comments from the public? Yes, sir.
One quick thing. I'm not against an audit. The audit's fine, but I'm concerned that if you have a motion and you second it and you vote approval for it, that you are in fact requesting the state do an audit, which means we're going to be liable for the payment for that audit. That's how I'm concerned that an official action by the commission right now will look like we're asking the state to do an audit. Not for them to sponsor the audit. That's my concern. Now, Amy may be able to answer that better. That is my concern with how this has been handled right now.
That is in fact what this motion would be, an official request for an audit.
Right.
Now, based on Commissioner Warwick's representations and conversations with Trumbull that he has had and I have not, we will not have to pay for it if we go this particular route. I don't
Right. We're requesting that the senator request the audit.
But to my understanding, though, they can still reject it. That's not, we're not necessarily going to be guaranteed the audit. The Senate can still reject it.
Right. And maybe that'll come out of that conversation we had with Senator Trumbull. But the way I understand it, as long as and it could be any state representative request it, then we don't have to pay for it.
I just want to make sure we didn't make the wrong step legally to obligate us.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, we need to repeat the motion first.
Okay. What did I say?
Before you do that, how about you change it to say, I motion to accept Representative or Senator Trumbull's offer to submit, requesting a state audit. I'll pause there so you guys can do that before I talk.
I make a motion to accept.
We have to take the other motion back because we have a motion on the floor right now.
So she has to take it back. I have to take it back.
Yes, we have to revise.
I would like to amend
your motion. Yeah,
my motion to accept Senator Trumbull's request or offer to request a state audit for the city of Lynn Haven from fiscal year 2021 to 2025 for all financials. Good.
That's good for you, Amy.
Yeah, that works.
All right, and is that good for you, CJ? Yeah, she has to second that.
Oh, I retract my
Right, and then
first second, but I second this motion, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so my commentary is that when we're digging into financials, and I don't know if the city attorney can put this in the request to Senator Trumbull to ask for, but specifically when we're talking about financials, I brought up many times now about flaws in the city procurement policies. There was nothing authorizing anyone in the city to ever conduct procurements for owner-directed purchases on construction. That would be included into or separated out of any other existing contracts. I know Chris still has to work on that portion of the policy, but anything that was done on City Hall that was over $35,000 needed to be brought before the commission. I did in my own audit, and I found that there's no records of the commission voting on, I think it was upwards of 12 or 18 actions. That's a problem. To me, the solution has already been granted. We have an interim city manager that's following and rewriting policy, which I asked for policy to be rewritten before, and it wasn't. And now it is being rewritten. So the solution to the problem is fine. But if we're not going to foot the bill, I'm all for the audit. We're footing the bill at the state level because we all pay state taxes in some way, at the minimum sales tax. But it's just important that when this audit take place, that I think we, as a commission, that you guys all talk and express what your concerns are specifically. Concerns on procurement, concerns on policies relating to financial accounts, like those police accounts or whatever, expenditure accounts, discretionary accounts, all things like that. Things that got put on people's paychecks that were like reimbursements or anything, all kinds of ways to move money around. Money just goes in a big circle. So if you're going to do it and we're not going to have to pay for it, ask them to be really thorough. And the main goal with asking them to be thorough is so that way we can put mechanisms in place through policy to, number one, prevent it from happening again. And number two, and more importantly, hold people who do it accountable. For example, and I'm just going to take a slight or, sharp turn here, but for example, on the flock stuff, you could put a policy in place that if people misuse that, because to me, that's misusing the system is a misuse of financial resources. You're paying that person to do a job and they're not doing the job, so they're misusing our money. Terminate them. One strike, you're out. Sorry, that's a baseball reference for you.
Fully encourage this accountability and transparency. These are not new terms. These are not new concepts. We all believe in it. Set the standard. This is a very important first step. The books need to be cleaned. They need to be looked at. If we were to hire a CPA or an outside firm, they say, well, that person's tied to this or this political affiliation or this or that. You bring in the state authority, have them scrub our books, get an outside professional third-party sanity check. Open kimono, financially speaking, sunshine is a very good disinfectant in public service. I highly encourage you to do this. This is a very, very important step to rebuilding the public's trust. Another speaker has already said a big part of that dynamic has already been removed from our organizational equation. The lingering shadow or the lingering effects of that mistrust is still here. This is how we can open up, disinfect, and move forward. So please support it and let's get going.
Additional comments?
You talking about, Jamie?
Fiscal year 2021 to 2025.
I come up here and I got all the stuff for an audit, records requests and all, and I got them for Kiki and everything, and we still been going through them. Our biggest problem we've seen 2019 when was all the city paid out the wrong invoices, the false invoices. 2019. And then we went through and we agreed with Kiki that it was $18 million. The city hall here was about $4 million over. So that come in just right. We agreed with her 100%. What we didn't agree with, there was procurement policies that couldn't be found. The biggest problems I could see everything was how you spent the money. Tonight, I seen on the agenda there that I think BCL had a change order for $700. It come for the commission to be approved. On this building here, there was 52 change orders, and I believe only one come before the commission. That was the problem. And I did the airport out there, was $140-something million, 3 years, and we had a meeting every week. I didn't get $1 above the contract until it was approved by the board. The $35,000, that's the city manager. But the contracts is what you go through. If it's a $10 million contract, if it's $9.5 million was spent, how did you save the $500,000? If $10.5 million was spent, who authorized the other $500,000? But I think the years 19, 20, 21, not 25, back it up a little bit if you wanted to try and get them paid for the audit. Because 19 was when all the invoices that were paid that was illegal. So,
All right. Yes, sir.
I get the 2019, 2021 doesn't, so current doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Yet again, Naylor Bearclaw. I worked in the remodeling industry. I was a cook. Some people call me a chef. I appreciate those that I worked with in the industry. Let me say this real quick. I will kill for my dishwasher. I don't need anybody else in my kitchen because I don't want to wash the dishes and the pots and the pans. But the people that helped me develop my company that I had for a short while, I worked in the remodeling industry. I really need to look back at 2018. 2018 and give you a baseline because Michael didn't have until October of 2018. You didn't have a good baseline from 2018 till now. That'll start showing you. Plus, we had COVID in 2020. There's all kinds of things that have happened. And working somebody in the service industry that I did for years, I know a lot of things that happen around in back rooms, at bars, and at the high tops and the tables. A lot of things get said and done that most people don't even recognize. And I'm not saying maybe it's all corruption. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But I can tell you what. I can read the English language. I can read statutes. I can read the Constitution. So, you know what? Walks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Guess what? It's a duck. So, we all know that there's corruption in Bay County. I know it firsthand. I know it beyond firsthand. I won't put it out there. You got people that are over there as the Bay County Sheriff at the Child Advocacy Center. You got him also working on the training commission. So you make a complaint on an officer, guess who he's going to? It's going to Tommy Ford. Let's see. There's this guy. His name's Joel Booth. He used to work as the Panama City manager for the Judicial Circuit of the 14th Judicial Circuit. His name's on an administrative order from the Judicial Circuit, 2005. Oh wait, now he's the director of the Child Advocacy Center. You know how I know all this? Because my son and my daughter's been brought up in DCF and all this other stuff that's been going on. As of Christmas Eve, I've been fighting with DCF and the family law courts for 10 years. So you sit there and say, well, there's blanket stuff of corruption. You want to know the corruption? You can check me out. I'll give you my phone number, my name. My name is Christopher Michael Naylor. Check me out on Facebook. You'll see an angry Care Bear there right now. I also identify as what? The one and only Street Justice Renegade, code name CPS Deadpool. My name has been given to me natively as Naylor Bear Claw because I'm going to claw open the doors and I'm about to go ahead and show you what corruption really is. Because what you don't know is that you are all also helping to pay for all that. You're paying for these judges and these attorneys and these cops to do illegal things with DCF. And the next time I come in here, I want to expose all that to y'all too. So if you want an audit, I suggest you go back to 2018 because you're not going to just find out the construction stuff. You're going to find out the stuff in civil court dealing with DCF and being bad actors, helping bad actors. Thank you.
All right. Additional public commentary. You have some commentary?
I feel the need to make sure that those who are listening understand that the city is audited annually. It has been audited annually. We are currently discussing an additional audit. It's not that we haven't been audited. We have been audited. And it is true that the state will not charge us dollars to do this additional audit. However, there will be staff time devoted to this. I will need to assign staff to help produce the documents and do the analysis. It's no small task. I would ask for the commission's direction on what it is you're feeling. What's the end goal? What are you looking for? And set very specific parameters about what to look at. If you just, we want to audit the last 4 years, the last 7 years, it doesn't really give us any direction of what it is you feel that we haven't looked at before that you want us to look at again in the future.
Got it. I think what was in the motion was the actual procurement policies themselves, looking over the past fiscal years from 2021 to 2025 to see if the procurement policies were followed for those particular years, for all departments, all purchases, etc. All right. Additional public comments?
I just want to say that when the last time we asked for an audit and we got one, I couldn't tell you what year it was. I remember Dan Russell and I both agreed that we would throw $100,000 at it for the audit to make sure it was thorough. And as it turned out, the then city manager spent $20,000 and sent it to a firm in Michigan or somewhere up north. They were here for 2 days, and we got a letter back that we're just clean as a whistle.
So that was one of my very first assignments when I hired on in January of 2020. I came in the door and you had just voted to do that. It is not unusual for auditors to work remotely. It is not unusual for them not to be in the building. Our current audit firm, I'm sending things to a portal every day. I'm doing analysis, I'm putting together spreadsheets, I'm submitting supporting documents, and it's all done on the internet. They usually come just to say hi and have some FaceTime and do that sort of thing once a year. But all of the work is done remotely. So I don't feel that there's any problem with having auditors work remotely. That's the standard of the industry now. Again, back to that special audit that Plant Moran did for us in 2020. I don't recall the exact amount of money that we spent on it, but there was a lot of staff time devoted along with the dollars and cents expense to do the work. And as you point out, they didn't find anything. So, and I was not involved. I hadn't been hired yet when the scope was developed. So that's what I'm trying to highlight now is we need a finite scope of what you want to address so that we're not just floundering and looking at you're talking a lot of documents and a lot of money and a lot of paperwork that some of it is digitized and easy to find, some of it isn't. Again, when I came here in January of 2020, it was not common for us to be scanning documents. So we still have paper documents in storage that if you decide that you want to have 19 done or 20 done, now I'm paying staff to go to storage to look for documents. It can be done. It's just going to be expensive with staff time. And again, not sure what it is you're looking for. I just need a real clear scope, please.
I think we just mentioned the scope. What the motion is everything.
I think once they have the conversation with Senator Trumbull, we'll probably have a better idea of what we can and can't request.
And at this point, we're just trying to rebuild transparency with the community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you just heard the police chief conversation. It's 9:07. We've been here since 5:30. So I think that's really what this is about, is rebuilding trust and transparency with the community.
I absolutely agree. And I support that 100%. And I will do whatever I'm instructed. I'm just trying to be clear about what expectations are and what the ramifications are for staff.
Got it. You the man.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yep.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes.